Are you wanting to improve the look and efficiency of your home? Well, one of the best and easiest ways you can do that, get some new windows. Window World, simply the best for less. You can give them a call today at 314-993-1800. Over 20 years in the business in the St. Louis area, over 70,000 satisfied customers. That's because Window World uses double strength glass, gives it a strength not commonly used in replacement windows. They've got the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They've got 18 months, same as cash financing. You can get them today. 314-993-1800, windowworld.com. That's windowworld.com.
Mom's Day, Dad's Day, birthday, maybe wedding day. Whatever the special occasion is, make sure you get the right gift. And that's where my friends at Blust Jewelry come in. Mike Ferguson here, and I was amazed at the choices in their Creve Coeur store. They're just west of 270 on Olive Road. If you're not sure what to get, don't worry. Ramona and her team will help you find the right piece at the right price. She's the store owner, and she spent her entire career helping families in St. Louis. Learn more at blustjewelers.com.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Hey, Columbo here, reminding you that cybersecurity has never been more important, so you need to ask yourself, is your business prepared for a possible ransomware attack? If you have any doubt about that, you need to call the team at ThrottleNet today. ThrottleNet provides world-class managed IT services and IT support to many local organizations, including my family's own small business. They're St. Louis's highest rated and most reviewed outsourced IT company, and there's many different ways ThrottleNet can help with your business's operation and digital protection. Learn more now at throttlenet.com.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you are a timeshare owner, you're probably upset that your yearly dues continue to increase. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and done in a specific time frame. They're the only company you can trust, having helped more than 18,000 owners legally and permanently get out. So please call Lone Star Transfer 855-551-7066 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Wednesday, former Biden Chief of Staff Ron Klain gave an interview to a leftist internet person in which he said Vice President Harris is doing a great job, and much of the criticism of her is racist and sexist. Instead of challenging that imbecilic statement, the podcast woman just nodded like a windblown puppet. There are two issues here. The first one is obvious. Kamala Harris has some of the lowest poll numbers we've seen in quite some time. So how could she be doing a great job? Wait, Klain explained that. The American public is racist and sexist. Now I understand. The next question is, does Ron Klain really believe the blather he is uttering? Impossible to know. But I can tell you that many political people on both sides often believe what they want to believe. And what they want to believe is anything that might help them or their party. Like most in the Biden White House, Klain had no interest in verifiable truth. He lived in Biden land for 2 years. The truth never came up. Al Gore once wrote a book called An Inconvenient Truth about the dangers of climate change. Then the former vice president hopped on a private jet flying around the country promoting the book. But compared to Kamala, Gore was Thomas Jefferson, who was VP to John Adams. It's also maddening. If Kamala Harris is doing a great job, I'm Michelangelo. Back after this. Hey, DirecTV viewers, Bill O'Reilly here, inviting you to watch the No Spin News on the First TV every night, 8 p.m. Eastern. The 2024 election coming up fast. Pundits parade from channel to channel, pushing nothing but speculation and their own partisan agenda. All that stops now with me, Bill O'Reilly, on the First TV. So please join me every night, 8 p.m. for the No Spin News on the First TV, DirecTV channel 347. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Another cool morning under clear skies. Beautiful day on tap today. Finally, we'll reduce the wind speeds out of the northwest. Maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per hour this afternoon. It's going to feel a lot better. The high about 68 degrees. Lows tonight in the 40s again, and highs tomorrow in the mid-70s with rain and storms showing up tomorrow night into Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
So what's going on?
Right here.
To me, this looks like the run-up to World War II.
News Talk STL.
They're playing with fire. Democrats are destroying the country.
News, analysis, opinion. For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
I don't know that President Biden really understands the meaning of the word negotiate. So he tells congressional leaders, Republicans, okay, fine, let's meet, let's have a negotiation over the debt ceiling. It's just that you have to do exactly what I tell you to do, and I'm not going to negotiate on anything you want. But other than that, sure, let's have a talk. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be very, very productive, right? Well, we'll have updates on that throughout the day. Good morning. I'm Mike Ferguson. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your day. Let's talk about guns for a second. Everybody living on the Illinois side of the News Talk STL listing area knows that the state legislature and the governor put into place one of the worst anti-freedom, anti-constitution, anti-Second Amendment laws in the country. And finally, a federal judge injected a little bit of common sense into the equation, at least for right now. So what does this mean going forward? We had a good conversation with Cam Edwards from BearingArms.com on Tuesday's program, and he gave us kind of the outlook of what's likely to happen and, more importantly, how you can be a part of defending your Second Amendment rights. Here's what he had to say.
Okay, just in the past few days, we've had a kind of a breather, I guess, a sigh of relief because of the absolute atrocious anti-Second Amendment, anti-freedom, anti-constitutional law that was passed by the Illinois legislature and trumpeted by J.B. Pritzker as this is going to keep everybody safe in Illinois. All we got to do is take away your Second Amendment rights in the state. And a federal judge says, no, that is not happening, at least not for right now. Is this the end of the line? Is the law completely struck down? Well, no, there's a little more to do on that. Cam Edwards from our friends at BearingArms.com is with us right now. And Cam did a really nice job covering this, man. Good job on that article and the follow-up article that I'm going to ask you about in a few minutes here. But what's the status right now of that anti-Second Amendment law, the recent one? I got to specify because Illinois has so many of them. Yeah, but the one from the past year, what's the status right now? There's an injunction from a federal court, but my understanding is, Cam, this is not the end of the line on the case.
No, it's not. So this was basically a request for an injunction for a judge to halt enforcement of the law while this case is making its way through the courts, right? And last Friday afternoon, U.S. District Judge Stephen McGlynn said, yep, I'm going to grant that injunction, and did not stay his injunction. He did not hit the pause button to allow the state time to appeal. He said, as of right now, enforcement of this law is on hold, which is why we saw, this massive surge of buyers at gun stores across Illinois this past weekend. But the state of Illinois can appeal that decision up to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, and Attorney General Kwame Rowell has already done that. But it looks like the Sixth Circuit the Seventh Circuit is not going to act all that quickly. They have laid out a briefing schedule that looks for a hearing to be held in early June. So it looks like, unless there's an additional emergency request filed by the state of Illinois, it looks like this law is going to be on hold for at least a few weeks. And that's very good news for gun owners in Illinois. Hopefully, the start of a much bigger ruling from the courts that'll wipe this completely off the books.
Good morning, Cam. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So just remind us what exactly this particular version of the gun grabbing law was intending to do to Illinois.
And again, we've got to be specific because Illinois has so many on the books.
Yeah.
I know, right? So this was the law that banned immediately the possession of ammunition magazines that could hold more than – this is so confusing, right? Because they make up all these phrases like large capacity magazine. What's a large capacity magazine? Well, under the Illinois law, it's anything over 10 rounds if it's a rifle magazine, anything over 15 rounds if it's a handgun magazine. And the sale of those were immediately banned, but also if you were caught, with one of those magazines, in your carry gun, that was now considered a crime. But it also banned the sale of so-called assault weapons, both by name and by feature. And as of January 1st, 2024, existing owners of these so-called assault weapons were supposed to start registering them with the state of Illinois. So this was a gun ban and a gun registration bill. And obviously the idea would be a couple years down the road, they go back, they remove the grandfather clause, and everybody who's now registered their guns, the state knows where they are, and the state tells them, you've got to turn them in.
Hey, Cam, you just mentioned the surge in purchases at gun stores over the weekend. What does that tell you, not just about the market in Illinois, but what does that tell you about people's understanding of the Second Amendment and their rights? Because I can't believe that those are only conservatives going to gun stores over the weekend.
No, I don't think it was. I think, in fact, we've kind of seen this in Washington State where they just passed a gun ban of their own. And there were actually some lefties complaining, saying, hey, well, now it's going to be the conservatives that have all the guns. Yeah. We didn't have a chance to buy ours. So, yeah, I'm sure that you actually saw buyers across the political spectrum. But I think what this shows, again, is that a lot of Illinois residents rightfully believe that their fundamental rights have been tread upon by this law. And so at the first opportunity, whether or not they already own an AR-15, they're going to the gun shop and they're buying another. They're buying, 30-round PMags because it's their right to do so. And the courts have now recognized this right, at least, temporarily, hopefully, forevermore. But this is voting with their wallets. This is an act of political protest, but it's also, I think, an act of defiance for folks like Governor Pritzker. These are Illinois residents who say, no, we're not going to let you take our rights away. And you know what? We're now going to go out and we're going to buy more guns than we ever would have before you enacted this ban.
In other types of situations like this, we see surges in new gun owners. Do you have any numbers or any idea of how much of this rush includes new gun owners?
We don't have any firm numbers. That's not something that the National Shooting Sports Foundation keeps track of. But in the conversations with some local gun shop owners, I think there's a healthy number. I don't think it's a majority of people who are first-time gun buyers, but I think, maybe 30, 40% of them are folks who may not have owned an AR-15. Maybe they own a handgun. But this ban and now the injunction has given them the opportunity to think about, well, okay, maybe I do want one of these AR-15s for myself. And so they are going to the gun shop and they are buying modern sporting rifles because, frankly, they're the most commonly sold rifle in America for a reason. They are highly adaptable. They are convenient. They are lighter. They are safer than your grandfather's rifle, and they're popular. And that's no different in Illinois than it is in any other state.
What do we know about the Seventh Circuit, Cam, as far as their history with Second Amendment cases? Do we have reason to be hopeful, or do we have reason to be concerned?
I think we've got reason to be concerned. Unfortunately, the Seventh Circuit has historically been pretty hostile to the right to keep and bear arms. The Bruin decision last year from the Supreme Court did change a couple of things, but some of these lower courts have been reluctant to go along with what the Supreme Court has had to say. And we've had a couple of judges in the Seventh Circuit that have declined to issue an injunction. They've upheld the Illinois ban. They've said, well, AR-15s aren't protected by the Constitution anyway. Large capacity magazines, they're not protected. I don't buy that argument. I think it's a very convoluted argument. I don't think it stands up to scrutiny at all. But that is the decision that the Seventh Circuit is now going to have to make, right? Are these arms the most commonly sold rifles in America? Are they protected by the Second Amendment? Are they so unusually dangerous that they fall outside of the scope of the right to keep and bear arms? I think we all know what the answer is. The question is whether or not the Seventh Circuit is going to play politics. But ultimately, this is going to go up to the Supreme Court. And I think that's really where this is going to be decided. The buck does not stop with the Seventh Circuit it stops with those 9 justices in Washington, D.C.
We are visiting with Cam Edwards from BearingArms.com, and he's got 2 articles on this, which is why I reached out to Cam. And Cam, you just brought up one of the things I wanted to follow up on, which was the state's argument that these things that they wanted to ban are unusually or particularly dangerous. And that's an argument that I don't know that I've ever heard in the canon of Second Amendment case law anywhere. But between that and the fact that that the Supreme Court in the New York case and some others, they've made it abundantly clear that they are originalist when it comes to the text of the Second Amendment. What is it that they're arguing can comply with the Supreme Court's recent rulings and still allow something like this, which, I mean, the New York case to me should have settled it once and for all. The current Supreme Court says the Second Amendment means what it says. You have an individual right. You can go back to the Heller case. In this case, what is it that they're arguing makes some things step outside of the scope of that ruling? Because I just don't see it. But then again, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I'm just a guy who talks on the radio.
Yeah, well, listen, it's not a great legal argument, but it's the best they've got. So back in the Heller decision, the Supreme Court said that basically bearable arms that are in common use are protected by the Second Amendment, prima facie, right? So it could be that you could say that, guns that are dangerous and unusual are not protected by the Second Amendment. A short-barreled shotgun. Something that is, sort of a unique, like a cane pistol that they used to have back in the 19th century, right? These sort of, weird disguised guns. Those might not be covered. But handguns, rifles, shotguns, those are all in common use, right? So they are protected by the Second Amendment. Well, the argument by the state of Illinois and some other anti-gun states is that, well, no, AR-15s are unusually dangerous. They're unlike most other firearms, which, by the way, is complete nonsense. Every firearm is a deadly weapon. But the argument from the state is that, these guns are used in a disproportionate amount of mass shootings. They can, fire a lot of rounds at one time because of these extended magazines. Therefore, they are unusually dangerous and don't fall under the protection of the Second Amendment. Judge McGlenn, in his decision last Friday, just put all of that to rest. He said, listen, these guns are in common use. There are more AR-15s. There are Ford F-150 pickup trucks. And nobody would say that F-150s are, unusual on American roads. So these are guns that are owned by lawful Americans for law-abiding purposes. They are rarely used in crimes. They are protected by the Second Amendment. And that's basically the end of the story. So he cut through all of the clutter, all of the nonsense on the part of the state of Illinois, and I think issued a very clear and concise decision about why these guns actually are protected by the scope of our right to keep and bear arms.
We just got a minute or so left here, Cam, but to me, the most dangerous part of this law is what you referenced a little bit earlier, the registration requirement, because that's a long game being played by anti-freedom, anti-Second Amendment, anti-Constitution activists to me.
Yeah, and that is their long game. Listen, we just saw this very revealing interview with Gabby Giffords of the gun control group Giffords at Time Magazine last week, where she said, the goal is no more guns. And her handlers said, well, no, that's not what she's talking about. I mean, she's talking about, like no more. And she said, no more guns. That's what they want. They want a world in which the Second Amendment has been repealed, in which 400 million privately owned firearms somehow magically disappear from our gun safes in our homes. And 100 million Americans are disarmed. Now, I don't think they're going to get there, but that is their end goal. And you're right. We've seen this in state after state where they put the first law on the books. Well, you get to keep your guns. Don't worry about it. And a couple years later, they come back and say, actually, we changed our mind about that. Now you got to hand them over. Now you got to hand your magazines over. I think that was exactly the intent in Illinois, and I think that's why we've got to stop them now before they can go any further.
Yeah, mine accidentally fell in the river. Sorry about that, officer. By the way, Cam, if you're in Illinois right now, what can you do about it? Obviously, it's in the courts. It's not like you can lobby a lawmaker for this. But is there anything that we can be doing on those who live in the Illinois side of our listening area to help protect their Second Amendment freedoms for themselves and for everybody else?
Absolutely. Listen, these court cases cost money. These attorneys, they're generally cutting us a good deal in terms of their hourly rates, but it does still cost money to litigate these cases. So I would, encourage folks, if you're not already a member of Second Amendment organizations, whether it's the Second Amendment Foundation, Illinois State Rifle Association, there are a number of lawsuits, so there are a number of plaintiffs, and there are a number of organizations that you can support. But if you can kick a couple of bucks their way to help fund these lawsuits, that's really, the type of financial support that these folks need right now.
All right, the articles that you can find at bearingarms.com. Federal judge grants injunction against Illinois assault weapons and magazine ban, and then also Illinois gun stores swamped after judge halts enforcement of gun and magazine ban. They were written by Cam Edwards. Hey, Cam, appreciate the update, man. Really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Hey, thanks very much. Look forward to talking to you guys soon.
The one and only Susie Moore from redstate.com is in for Gabe today. We're going to chat with her in just about 20 minutes or so. And we've got that News Talk STL Morning News Roundup coming your way in just about 3 minutes and 57 seconds right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You get the point with this? Like, they've done this before?
Bongino.
We had the IRS targeting case where they actually admitted to it. I love when lefties try to pretend that didn't happen. The targeting of the Tea Party and conservative groups.
Weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
Yes, Epics and Classics featuring John Anderson with the Band Geeks. May 9th, the Family Arena, Progressive Pioneers. Yes, Epics and Classics featuring John Anderson with the Band Geeks live. Research seat tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office at the Family Arena or through Ticketmaster. Don't miss Yes, Epics and Classics featuring John Anderson with the Band Geeks.
John Michael Montgomery. Live. The multiple Grammy, CMA, and ACM award winner. John Michael Montgomery with McBride and the Ride. Friday, October 20th at the Family Arena. Reserved seats are on sale now at the Carroll House box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. John Michael Montgomery, live in concert.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hey everybody, it's Paul Kurtman. Make sure you join me every Saturday from 12 to 1 here on News Talk STL for the Paul Kurtman Show. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, Kimberly Gardner's day in court is coming at some point. A judge says she will go through a trial in order to keep her job or to lose her job.
Hopefully she'll write it down on her daily planner.
This time to remember.
Yeah.
Just
Might
to
want to
make
be
sure.
there.
Yeah. Well, her butt's on the line, and it actually affects her life, so she'll make sure somebody's there for that.
Yeah.
It's when other people's lives are affected that she doesn't bother with it. All right, also, President Biden says he's sending troops to the border. That's going to shore things up, right?
I disagree.
Yeah, you would probably be right about that. We'll get into the details here in just a moment. Also, Missouri Democrats are digging in against proposals to, fix things in St. Louis. All right, 5:50 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Estelle Ponticus. Okay, so the lawsuit to remove Kimberly Gardner from office will move forward. The judge in the case rejected Gardner's request to dismiss the lawsuit brought by Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Now, the judge is also stepping aside. There's going to be another judge, but before he did that, he ruled that 7 of the 10 counts against Gardner will be part of the civil trial against her, and we're just going to kind of have to wait for updates on that. But Susie, with her legal experience, can give us some insight here in just a little bit. All right, the Biden administration is sending 1,500 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Yay, that means it's going to be fixed? Well, maybe not. Town Hall's Greg Clugston has the story.
When COVID-19 restrictions are lifted next week, thousands more migrants are expected to try and cross the southern border. Anticipating that surge, 1,500 troops are being deployed. The White House says the military personnel will not do enforcement work.
This will free up Border Patrol agents to perform their critical law enforcement duties.
President Biden's actions follow similar moves by then-President Trump, policies that Mr. Biden frequently criticized. The White House tried to downplay the troops' decision by describing it as a common practice. Greg Clugston, Washington.
So we're sending military troops down to the border to do data entry and warehouse work.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And welcoming folks across the border.
Pretty much, yeah.
Here's the information you need. Here's your ticket. Just keep on going.
Here's your process work. Here's your paperwork. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but the headlines say troops are headed to the border.
It's a joke. A 2,000-mile border, 1,500 troops, and you're right. They're not going to do anything to stop anybody. This administration is just laughing in our faces.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep.
Boy.
All right, we'll get into that in a little more depth a little bit later on here. All right, State Representative Lakeisha Bosley found herself briefly in police custody this week. Oops. She was arrested on an outstanding warrant in Jefferson City for not appearing in court to take care of a speeding ticket from over a year ago that she got in Perry County. Bosley, who represents part of St. Louis City, posted bond. So she's out of jail so she can go back to work in the legislature. You may see some guys sitting around outside of work sites with some protest signs. Some construction projects around the area may get put on hold as a union strike started yesterday. Local 513 Operating Engineers Union and Associated General Contractors of Missouri did not come to a new pay and benefits deal. The old contract expired on May 1st, so now you have the dueling press releases and negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement between the two. Now, I know some people are saying, wait a minute, Associated General Contractors of Missouri, they're the ones working on like the soccer stadium projects and much of these other big things. Those are not going to be affected because they have a contract in place for those. So all of those are covered. But there are a number of construction projects, some public, some private, that could be put on hold because the workers aren't going to show up to work and do their job because they don't have the contract now. So.
And it may go on for a little while. You never know.
Yeah, life in St. Louis. That's just kind of how it rolls. Okay, if nothing else, the Cardinals have been consistent in one area still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've lost the first game of the series again. This is their 10th series of the season, and they have dropped all 10 series openers so far as the Angels beat the Redbirds at Busch on Tuesday. Final score 5-1.
So they're 10 for 10.
Yes.
That's not the type of stat you really want.
No, I was going to say, if you want to look at it that way, just to put a positive spin on it.
No, sorry.
Oh, man, that is just brutal. I got to tell you, I got a lot of respect for Nolan Arenado just as a ball player because he's not hitting very well. I was actually, unfortunately, at the game where he dropped from hitting 300 down to the 200s, and now he's like 230-something. And you know who he's blaming for it?
Himself.
Yeah. He says, I'm not producing. He says, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to get where I need to be. But I'm not doing, and more ball players should be doing that. So I'm here going, first of all, the guy's defense is still amazing, just unbelievable. But when the team is struggling, he decides to own up, to the fact that he's not playing the way that he typically plays. And I'm just going, those are the kind of guys you build winning teams around.
Yes.
So that's there are some things to kind of be optimistic about.
And you hope that rubs off on the other guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if it's not already. Yeah, absolutely. So the second game of the series tonight is at 6:45. Shohei Ohtani is scheduled to pitch for the Angels. Miles Michaelis is on the mound for St. Louis. So if you're going to have a big crowd, tonight's the night to do it at 6:45. So manager Ollie Marmol is asked about the struggles of the team in the locker room after the game. And here's just a clip of what he had to say.
No one's feeling sorry for us right now, okay? The league loves watching us fail because we're good every year. So there's not a team out there that's sitting back and feeling sorry for us. No one's going to hand us anything. and we're just going to have to dig deep and prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, that's the right attitude. Now, do it.
That's it, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, the ownership of the St. Louis Cardinals are frustrated with some stuff happening in Jefferson City at the state legislature because a bill to allow sports betting isn't going to get through. And so the owners of the Cardinals like, well, we may fund the plan to put this question on the statewide ballot in 2024. I'm like, how about take the whatever millions of dollars you were going to do for that and get some pitching?
That would be the better thing to do.
Angels were all over our starting pitching once again. Now, Miles Michaelis, when he settles in, I mean, look at his last game in San Francisco, man. The guy was lights out. So, tonight's going to be a really, I think, probably very, very good game. But, I mean, you get to see Shohei Ohtani on the mound for the Angels. Miles Michaelis, who right now is the best pitcher for the Cardinals. I mean, hopefully Adam Wainwright can work his way back in and get up to speed. Looks like he'll be back probably another week or so, maybe this weekend, actually, against the Tigers. But should be a good pitching matchup. Shohei Ohtani has not lost a game yet. He's 4-0. And one of the most bizarre things about his pitching, the longer he stays in, the worse batters do. Because normally, the pitchers are strongest the first time through the lineup. Second time through the lineup, they start to figure out because they see what he's got. So far, the third time through the lineup, the third time he sees, they're batting basically zero against him.
Boy.
It's just amazing. That's why I say this is the best baseball player on the planet right now, and that is not hyperbole in my opinion. If you go to Busch Stadium tonight, hopefully we're going to see the Cardinals win, but you are going to witness probably the best player in the game anywhere on this planet Earth right now. So there you go. I wish I could make it to the game tonight, but can't make it out there tonight. All right, just ahead here, we'll get the update on what's happening with Kimberly Gardner and also an update to that discussion we had about the bill in St. Louis County to ban panhandling, among other things. They did take some action on that. We'll talk about that right around 6:04 with Susie Moore on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
If you believe Brandon and the supply chain issues are still in crisis, or even if you don't, hurry into Southern Armory, your Second Amendment headquarters, for the best selection of firearms, suppressors, holsters, ammunition, pepper spray, and knives. Browse through our constantly changing inventory, order something special, or have us repair or modify that firearm that you've been putting off. Try our firearms training simulator. See the demo video on our website. Come into Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Home is where the heart is, but it's also where the money is too. If you want to make the most of your home, whether you're buying, selling, or staying put, tune into HomeWise, the financial talk show that gives you the real deal on home ownership. HomeWise tells you the secrets that banks, realtors, and contractors don't want you to know, and shows you how to save thousands of dollars on your mortgage, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. HomeWise, how to get the most out of every dollar you put into your home. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. His state on the front lines of the southern border crisis. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says President Biden's deployment of 1,500 active duty troops to the border will do nothing to stop illegal immigration. Abbott says the troops' primary mission will be to do paperwork, and it's only a 3-month deployment. The governor has deployed 10,000 Texas National Guard troops to the border to, in Abbott's words, fill the gaps created by Biden's reckless open border policies. 3 Republican-led House committees have crafted legislation designed to address the surge of illegal immigration under the Biden regime.
In a joint statement announcing the combined package on Tuesday, the leaders of the 3 House panels said, quote, "Our committees have put forth legislation to roll back the harm this administration has caused our country."
Correspondent Edwin Mora on Capitol Hill. An illegal immigrant accused of fatally shooting 5 people in Cleveland, Texas last Friday night has been captured. The FBI's Jimmy Paul says 38-year-old Francisco Oropesa was found just a few miles from the crime scene, hiding in a closet beneath some laundry.
We received the tip at 5:15 p.m. and the arrest was made at 6:30 p.m.
Paul heard on KTRK. San Jacinto County Sheriff Greg Capers hopes that the arrest will bring some measure of comfort to the victims' loved ones.
They can rest easy now because he is behind bars, and he will live out his life behind bars for killing those 5.
Police say Oropesa opened fire after neighbors asked him to refrain from firing a gun so late at night and so near other people's homes. Iran has done it again, seizing another oil tanker in the strategic Strait of Hormuz. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 17 points, NASDAQ futures 19 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest-rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Another cool morning under clear skies. A beautiful day on tap today. Finally will reduce the wind speeds out of the northwest. Maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per hour this afternoon. That's going to feel a lot better. The high about 68 degrees. Lows tonight in the 40s again, and highs tomorrow in the mid-70s with rain and storms showing up tomorrow night into Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Democrats do what they do.
We choose truth over facts. News, analysis, and opinion.
We made a lot of progress.
This country cannot afford 4 more years of Joe Biden.
But there's more to do.
Our border is overrun. Crime is surging. He has not taken a stand on the national stage.
101.9 and 94.1.
Shows the lack of energy and enthusiasm that he has, and I think, frankly, that the country has to see him get reelected.
News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
You know, tomorrow's kind of a big day in my household. My wife's dream bathroom renovation is almost done. And if you go by my house in Richmond Heights, you're going to see a van from Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. And this is for the plumbing team because we're finishing up some of the final plumbing touches on this huge renovation that we're doing upstairs. And because of the great job Anton's did with our central air, central HVAC system that we had installed for the upstairs of our house, I called Anton's and said, you know what, give me some more of that Anton service because we're going to do that with the plumbing. AntonsHVAC.com is the website. Mike Ferguson here for Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Their number is 314-338-3941. And you know what? You just compare where we were this time last year to where we are right now. Last year, we did not have a central air system in the upstairs of our house. and it sucked because it was hot and it was cold. It was humid, it was dry. It was just back and forth, and we were just kind of at the whims of the St. Louis weather, and you don't want to do that. Now we have the HVAC system, which, by the way, was so affordable. We've already paid the whole thing off. We didn't even bother finishing out financing because they cut us such a good deal, which is what they'll do for you as well. So give Anton's HVAC and Plumbing a call, 314-338-3941. Excuse me, let me make sure I get that right. And one of the things you can do is, hey, summer's coming up. It's going to be hot. By next week, we're going to see temperatures back into the 80s. And this is the time to make sure your air conditioning system is prepared for the summer. Maybe you don't need another HVAC system. Maybe you do not need a project like that. That's great. We'll have the experts come out and do a tune-up and do a check and make sure that whatever system you have, regardless of who put it in, is ready for the summer. You talk about affordable, you talk about saving money, and if there's a problem, they'll spot it, and you'll probably pay far less just to get something fixed before it goes kaput when it's 102 degrees. So don't put yourself, don't put your family in that situation. Call Anton's today. It's still kind of their slow season, so they can get out there pretty quickly. 314-338-3941 and say, hey, give me that hookup the way you did with Mike Ferguson in his house. 314-338-3941 or antonshvac.com.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson.
I'm the world's heavyweight wrestling champion.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up,
I want to be clear, I'm not going nuts.
No.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, the legal process, complicated as it is, slowly moves forward in the Kimberly Gardner case. And in this particular one, I'm talking about the Kimberly Gardner case to kick her out of office. I'm not talking about the other Kimberly Gardner cases like the state. Yeah, I know. There's a lot going on there, Susie. All right, so we'll get the update on that because if you just look through all the news headlines here in St. Louis, you'd be a little confused because there was a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of it's, wonky and legalese and stuff like that. But we're going to clear that up for you to give the update. It is coming up on 6:08. I'm Mike Ferguson, Susie Moore from redstate.com, and for Gabe today, and Stel Ponticus here as well. All right, if you haven't done kind of an audit of your social media, make sure that we are on it. Okay. I'm just saying. They should be following Red State on like Facebook and Twitter.
Absolutely.
But they should be doing that for newstalkstl.com as well. Because, yes, we're streaming. Rumble is where I recommend you watch us on video, but we are streaming on Facebook as well. And we've got news stories that are posted throughout the day. And it's a great place to kind of keep the conversation going after all the shows go off the air. And then we make room for the next show. Okay, so, Susie, let me start with this. I see one headline that says the hearing on Kimberly Gardner case is canceled on Tuesday, but then the judge issues a ruling saying that 7 of the 10 counts can move forward, and then the judge steps aside. So there's going to be a new judge, but we don't know who that is. And then we've got a trial date in the future, but something before that, but we don't know when. Did I pretty much get that right?
Yeah. So, do you want a little bit of an explainer on that one?
Yeah, I think we should probably do the thing where we wave our hand in front and clear some of the smoke, because I know this is a lot of legalese and process work.
It's a lot of process, yeah.
But the most important thing is that Kimberly Gardner's request to dismiss the whole thing from the Attorney General was not granted. I think 3 of the things, I think the judge kicked those, but 7 of the 10, the judge says, no, there's something here.
That's correct. So when the proceedings were initially brought, of course, all of the judges of the 22nd Judicial Circuit, which is the city, recused themselves. They said, we really can't hear this matter because we could theoretically be witnesses because it has to do with what's going on in their courtrooms. So they recused themselves, and the Supreme Court appointed an appellate court judge, John Trubitsky, to be the judge for this proceeding. There's a rule in both civil and criminal matters, that there are certain circumstances under which you can, sometimes you can just request a change of judge as a matter of course. Like everybody gets one free bite of the apple, basically. And why they waited till now to request a change of judge, I'm not sure. There are certain time constraints usually that come into play, and those may be different for this type of proceeding. But in any event, after the big hearing, where they all kind of presented the evidence on Kimberly's Gardner's motion to dismiss and some of the other stuff they were arguing about, then the judge took all of that information under submission and was getting ready to make a ruling, and then Gardner asked for a change of judge. Now, what the Attorney General's office did was say, okay, she's entitled to one. Obviously, we can't really oppose it, but since this was already these matters were already heard by the judge, he should get to rule on those before this gets sent to another judge.
Oh, okay. That clears up something I couldn't. Thank you.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And it does, because they're basically saying otherwise that's just going to delay the process. Why would we have to go through this hearing all over again because she gets a change of judge? So Torbitsky went ahead and made his ruling on her motion to dismiss, granting it only as to 3 of the 10 counts. The rest of the proceedings will go forward, and then ruling on some of the discovery, the back and forth about like what the Attorney General's office could subpoena and what they were entitled to. So he made those rulings. Now he'll step aside. A new judge will be appointed.
So to be clear, he didn't say the Attorney General's right and should be kicked out of office. He just said this can move forward for an actual trial.
Correct.
Okay.
He's saying the Attorney General's office states a claim. There's something here that's worth being pursued and can go forward, and didn't dismiss it outright. Now, when they had the big hearing a couple weeks ago, one of the things that they agreed to was to have like twice a month Tuesday hearings, just to kind of be like shepherding the process along. So I think what was canceled yesterday was just that regular proceeding. Since he's no longer going to be the judge on this one, it didn't make sense to go have that hearing yesterday. Somebody else will be appointed, presumably another appellate court judge, and then everything will continue on, and presumably on the same schedule that it's on. Given
The high-profile nature of this, is it a reasonable guess to say that another judge will probably be appointed pretty quick?
Yes. Yeah, because they appointed Torbitsky, I want to say within a couple of days of the recusal from the 22nd Circuit. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's this week.
Okay, and that doesn't change because they were looking at September
September 25th is the trial date. It shouldn't change at all because there's nothing that's going to, that doesn't slow down the process of what they're already doing. Right. Somebody else should be able to step in and take over from where Torbitsky was.
Could this have been a tactic to try to slow down the process and start over?
Sure could have, because if Gardner had her way, Torbitsky would have just stepped back and said, okay, I'm getting swapped out here, so I'm not going to rule on these matters, and somebody else is going to have to come in and take a look at everything again and make their own determination, and then that could have delayed the process, a month, 2 months down the road.
Because if you're looking at that, you've got a trial date of September 20th, so the end of September.
Correct.
If you start things over, conceivably they could have come in and said, okay, but we need to have the same time frame starting now. Then you're into October, November, December, possibly January. Well, filing is started for the next 2024 election. Then you argue, hey, voters are about to decide this.
Yeah, that's why when I saw that she moved for a change of judge, I was like, why now? Because if you thought, if your objection was to this particular judge thinking that, they don't, for your first, for the change of judge that you get as a matter of course, you don't have to state a reason.
And she didn't, from
she
what I
didn't. No, and
yeah.
that's not an unusual thing. If you're a regular practicing attorney, it's unusual in the sense that you don't want to do that normally, because if you take a change of judge from a judge, that judge is going to remember that you did that. So the next time you draw that judge, you're in the same boat, or you're going to have to always take a change of judge from that judge. But the timing of it I thought was interesting. So to me, the timing said this is a delay tactic, not a we have an objection to this particular judge tactic.
Got it. Okay. So we had quite a robust conversation yesterday on a proposal in St. Louis County. Now, let's switch over there. I want to give everybody an update on that as well. This is Ernie Trachis has a proposal that would basically make it illegal in St. Louis County to be on the street. If you are not in a car or on a motorcycle, or you are not a first responder helping somebody out, or you're not getting on or off a bus or something like that. This would apply to everybody, but the reality is it's targeting panhandlers and beggars.
Sure.
Beggars is what it's doing. County council took that up and they gave it first round approval, so they're going to probably talk about it again next week. So it's not like into law at this point,
right.
But they did move forward with it. And while they're being very careful how they describe it because they apply it to everybody. And it's funny because we got a call from a firefighter who said, wait a minute, what about our boot blocks for like MDA and things like that? And they asked Ernie Trachis about it. He goes, well, yeah, it applies to everybody. So, no more charities out there, no more, street preachers or ministries out trying to, nobody trying to collect for all this sort of thing, and no more panhandling. Basically, you have to apply it to everybody because you can't target it at one person. Because didn't the county have run into a problem by targeting panhandling a few years ago? And the judge said, no, you can't do that.
It seems to me, I have a vague recollection of that. And I know it came up at the time because you do have those fundraising events where you've got the first responders out with their boots, or you've got the Old Newsboys Day, that sort of thing. And I don't remember the specifics of that. But yeah, I can understand how it'd be very difficult to carve out an exception for those purposes that wouldn't basically undermine the entire law.
Right.
So
you can ask for money for this, but not ask for money for that in the exact same spot. So the county council is basically in a position to say it's all or nothing.
Right.
And that's, what we're seeing is just anecdotally, I'm hearing and seeing more people say, yeah, panhandlers are getting more aggressive. And it's one thing to walk up and down and wave or like make motions like please, please, please. That's one thing. That's your free speech. You can say what you want. You can motion how you want. What drives me nuts is when they walk out into the traffic when you're stopped at red lights, and that's why I've crossed over into I think this bill's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's not just somebody standing on the corner with a sign. It's somebody actually walking out in amongst the vehicles, and that does present a hazard both for the pedestrians and for the vehicles themselves, for the people driving the vehicles.
Right. So,
I mean, I can understand why people might be a little hesitant and concerned that this kind of does away with some of the old traditions, but maybe there's, it's 2023. There's lots of ways to raise money, and standing in traffic doesn't have to be one of them.
Gabe had a great idea. He said have the charity fundraiser stuff just hold up a QR code sign.
Yeah,
just point your phone at it. There you go.
But not while you're driving.
No. I'll worry. But you're stopped there at the red light.
Only while you're stopped.
They got you right there. All right. President Biden says he's sending troops to the border. That's to shore up the border, right?
Sort of.
Yeah. Let's actually say what those headlines mean. Just ahead in about 3.5 minutes, right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin God. Get up.
When we talk about dental care, a lot of times the first thing you think about is, are my teeth white? Are there chips? Are there cavities? Do I need a crown? Yes, I need a cleaning. But have you thought about what your dental health means for the health of the rest of your body? If you're pregnant, there's a big impact of your dental health and your gum health and inflammation in and around the teeth and the gums that can impact preterm labor and really impact the successful outcome. There are some studies that suggest that poor dental health may be related to premature cardiovascular disease. These are the kind of issues that are addressed when you visit my friends at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. The whole family can benefit from a visit to Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles with Dr. Dan Cusimano, Dr. Megan Dwyer, Dr. Jay Omas. Or if you haven't seen anyone for a while, go out and get to know them. It's a fabulous team, all up and down the team, from the dentist to the hygienist to the front office. Great group. 978-0226. That's 636-978-0226. Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles, advanceddentistrynow.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Dr. Bob Onder.
On this whole transgender issue, Washington University has a PAC with $1 million in it to fund Republican rhinos who don't want to protect our kids or protect innocent human lives. It's all too common. So-called Republicans go to Jeff City and govern like Democrats.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Mystic Fix is sponsored by Kama Flight, redefining the dance between the masculine and feminine. Kama Flight is a somatic movement practice merging yoga, meditation, and massage. Workshops in 2023 are at the Chosen Retreat Center in Sebastian, Florida. For more, visit Kama Flight on Instagram at KAMAFLIGHT.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point.
While the Biden administration has been steadfast in its insistence that the southern border is secure, encouraging us all to trust them, not our lying eyes, thousands of immigrants have been illegally streaming across the border, more than at any other time in our nation's history. And that's only going to increase when Title 42 restrictions are lifted on May 11th. Meanwhile, blue city mayors are squawking about a few thousand immigrants bust or flown into their sanctuary enclaves from border towns and states, places that are virtually overflowing with the masses of migrants that have been pouring in since Joe Biden took office and put the virtual welcome mat on our southern doorstep. The good news is that the Biden administration is finally taking some action to address the issue. No, they're not extending Title 42 restrictions or re-upping the Remain in Mexico policy. Instead, the administration is now set to send 1,500 active duty troops to the border in the coming days. Not to assist in law enforcement, mind you, but to serve in mostly administrative roles. But don't worry, they'll be armed for self-defense. Because administrating apparently can be dangerous at our totally secure, not at all about to be overrun with a massive surge of immigrants border. Trust them, they've got everything under control.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter at SmoozyQ and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
King's X?
It is indeed.
I thought I remembered that song.
Fine Art of Friendship.
Yes.
Good stuff.
King's X is a great band. They're not around anymore. That's a sad thing. King's X hasn't done anything in 15 years, probably.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Ty Tabor is still around, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but not with King's X.
No.
Yeah, but what a great band.
Never heard of them.
They're more on the metal side, the
Yeah,
hard rock metal side.
I'm somewhat familiar with hard rock and metal, but that's not one that ever ran across my radar.
They weren't alternative, but they weren't mainstream. I think it's just like one of those things where they just never crossed over and made it big, but they had a very loyal following.
That works.
Yeah. Good stuff. It has nothing to do with the topic we're about to talk.
That's okay.
6:22 right now. That's Susie Moore from RedState.com. She's in for Gabe today. That's Estelle Ponticus over there. I'm Mike Ferguson. So basically, do we have warehouse workers and data entry clerks in fatigues? I mean, let's clear up what the news headlines actually mean when we hear about troops going to the border. Because if you just hear the headlines, boy, the president's getting tough. He's sending troops to the border, and we're thinking of like commandos in face paint, like marching to the border, and we're going to get those cartels, and that's not exactly it. By the way, time is running out because Mom's Day is coming up here pretty quick. So go to newstalkstl.com, get involved in our Mom's Day promotion. It is absolutely free to do. We've got a gallery on our website of people saying why the moms in their lives rock, why they love them, kind of like you did when you were in school. And it's like, I love my mom because, well, just put that on there, and then we're going to put that up on the gallery. And we've got a thing when you do that. You're like, wait a minute, why are you asking who I am and what my address is? Because one person's going to be picked, and we are going to send you a $500 gift certificate to Blust Jewelers. And we have to know where to mail it to. That's literally why we're asking for that, because somebody's going to get that $500 gift certificate. Blust Jewelers in Creve Coeur, all kinds of just gorgeous jewelry, and you will get that if you are picked in time to go use it for Mother's Day. And $500 is going to go a really long way at Blust Jewelers. They have stuff for every single budget out there. So newstalkstl.com, by the way, if you want to know more about Blust Jewelers, blustjewelers.com, or go see them. If you can just go a little bit west of 270 on Olive Boulevard. If you find the Schnucks there, just past the hospital, it's in the same parking lot, so you can find it right there. Check in, say hi, look around, incredibly friendly. Pet Elliot the dog on the head for me, and just see what they've got to offer out there. Okay, so here's what's going on. With the end of the official emergency declaration over COVID, the use of Title 42, which was the policy that allowed the government to kind of expel illegals faster in a lot of different cases, that's coming to an end as well. Okay, so when you look at the Senate subcommittee of this, that, and the other that's dealing with this, it's being run by James Lankford, the Republican, and former Democrat Kirsten Sinema. Both of them, Susie, were on special report with Brett Baer last night. And let's start with Senator James Lankford. He kind of commented on the whole situation.
There's about 2 million people a year that are coming illegally across the border. Most of them are crossing the border and then saying, I have fear in my country, which is what the cartels have told them to say. And then they are allowed to be able to come in the country and request an asylum hearing. That asylum hearing, depending on where they request it, will be about 18 years before it's actually settled in the future. And so they're free to go anywhere they want to, work anywhere they want to in the country.
So essentially what I'm hearing right there is that we all know that the system is being gamed. Everybody involved knows the system is being gamed. So with this tool being taken out of the toolbox, the time frame for actually doing something about the problem is just moving up.
Yeah, rapidly. I mean, May 11th is D-Day.
Yeah.
And the people that are planning to take advantage of that are already making their way to the border.
And Senator Kirsten Sinema is from Arizona, and she tells Brett Baer just some of the ways that illegal immigration is affecting her state.
There are high-speed chases going on through the city of Sierra Vista right now, with young teens driving cars and sometimes being killed or causing the death of others, transporting drugs and other migrants through these communities.
Okay, so now we get to the point where we hear the headlines, or we see the headlines. The president is sending troops to the southern border. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what does that actually mean? Well, at a briefing yesterday, United States Air Force Brigadier General Pat Ryder kind of explained the role that the troops are going to be fulfilling.
For 90 days, these 1,500 military personnel who will be sourced from the active duty component will fill critical capability gaps, such as ground-based detection and monitoring, data entry, and warehouse support until CPB can address these needs through contracted support.
So the military is basically a temp agency right now?
Yeah, basically.
It's all a mirage. And in my estimation, they're just laughing at us. You know, if you want a good background look at what's actually going on down there, Todd Bensman put out a book very, very recently. It's called Overrun, and he's been following the story for 3 or 4 years. And he does a deep dive into everything that's going on along the border. It's a 2,000-mile border, and 1,500 troops is not going to solve the problem in El Paso and Laredo and Brownsville. And like you said, Susie, there are literally thousands of people on the other side of the border just waiting for 11:59 p.m. on May 11th. When May 12th kicks in, here we go. They're going to start coming across, and this government doesn't care one single bit except to give them a ticket and to let them move on inside our country. And now we have situations like what we had in Houston with the shooting that happened down there with the folks who were killed. That's a little community there that folks who have been there, including Todd Bensman, says that it's like a third world country outside the city of Houston where all these folks have congregated together and the government does very little to help them out. They're pretty much on their own. Mm-hmm. It's a scary situation.
But we're going to have military personnel at data clerk entry desks in the office.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing of all. I mean, you see the headline and you picture troops that are like, armed up and at the border, like literally trying to help guard the border. No. They're there to be support system for the CPB, so they can theoretically do that. But I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, there's only so much you can do when you've got thousands upon thousands of people to address.
Yeah, that's what Karina Jean-Pierre, what one of the things she argued yesterday. She goes, well, because CPB officers and CPB agents, they're the ones doing the warehouse and the data entry now. So now they'll be out on the border and doing their job. Okay, you're just now figuring that out.
Right?
If that's
the
case, really? You know, or I mean, are you going to tell me that there's 1,500 more CPB agents that are going to go out there? I doubt it.
Yeah, no, it's just. And ironically, of course, is the exact same thing that Biden and many of his administration criticized President Trump for doing back during the Trump administration.
Right.
But no, it's okay when Biden does it.
Yeah, except the Trump administration, I mean, they did some of this, but they also put some like troops actually in like the second line right behind the CPB in some areas.
Right.
I mean, they actually used them for, what's that term? National defense.
Fancy that.
Yeah, I mean, weird, but
yeah,
okay, if we're going to do that.
Right.
But that's why I started off the segment. I'm like, are we just having data clerks and fatigues at this point?
Well, I mean, what's the purpose of the military? If yes, I realize there are administrative costs to it, administrative functions, but
can you imagine signing up to defend our country and being told, okay, head down to the border and here's your desk, here's the laptop, here's the password, start processing stuff on the computer.
Right.
I mean, that's how we treat our personnel?
Very strange.
Yeah, really weird. All right, 314-912-1019. Speaking of the Biden administration, he says, okay, fine, I'm going to meet with congressional leaders.
Awesome.
We are going to talk about the debt ceiling.
Fantastic.
Just do what I told you to do, and I'm not negotiating anything.
Oh.
Dr. Peter Earle from the American Institute for Economic Research brings us up to date on what's happening with that and also, more importantly, what it actually means to us, because potentially this actually is something that affects our lives.
All right.
Not just political posturing out there, because you know what? They're bad, we're good. We'll talk about that at 6:34 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Another cool morning under clear skies. Beautiful day on tap today. Finally, we'll reduce the wind speeds out of the northwest. Maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per hour this afternoon. That's going to feel a lot better. The high about 68 degrees. Lows tonight in the 40s again, and highs tomorrow in the mid-70s with rain and storms showing up tomorrow night into Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
And their leadership has been substandard.
I think the word substandard is immensely polite.
This is News Talk STL.
Nothing offers an opportunity to bond and give thanks quite like breaking bread together. This is especially true as we welcome our troops back home and keep those who are still stationed overseas in our hearts. Hi, I'm Gary Sinise. Since 2011, the Gary Sinise Foundation's Serving Heroes program has shown gratitude to our nation's defenders and their families by serving up nearly 500,000 hearty classic American meals at travel hubs and military locations. And now, together with our friends at Bob Evans Farms and their Our Farm Salutes program, we will help to provide even more meals nationwide, offering our defenders a taste of home and the feeling of togetherness around the table. Help us show America's gratitude through food and fellowship. Look for the Bob Evans Our Farm Salutes purple packaging at your grocery store and visit ourfarmsalutes.com to learn more. While we can never do enough to support the men and women who serve, together we can make a difference, bite by bite.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Democrats do what they do.
We choose truth over facts. News, analysis, and opinion.
We made a lot of progress.
This country cannot afford 4 more years of Joe Biden.
But there's more to do.
Our border is overrun. Crime is surging. He has not taken a stand on the national stage.
101.9 and 94.1.
Shows the lack of energy and enthusiasm that he has, and I think, frankly, that the country has to see him get reelected.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey, Susie.
Hey.
Joe Biden's got an interesting negotiation style.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because he says he's going to meet with congressional leaders, and they should just do what he tells them to do.
That doesn't sound like negotiations.
No negotiations. Okay, the bigger question, what could this mean for us all? I'm Mike Ferguson. It is 6:35. Got Susie Moore from redstate.com in for Gabe today. And, of course, Del Ponticus here as well. And so the House Republicans barely passed a debt ceiling increase, basically for 1 year, $1.5 trillion or so. But they put in some spending cuts, and the U.S. Senate says, nope, no go. Probably not even going to consider it. President Biden says, if my party goes against me in the Senate, I'm going to veto it anyway. So they passed a debt ceiling increase, but we know that that deal is not going to be whatever goes into place for the next year. We just know that's going to happen. Peter Earle is an economist with the American Institute for Economic Research. I had to get the right paper. So, Peter, good to have you back on the program here. So, negotiation style aside, let's talk about what the actual, I guess, worst case scenario is, because the Democrats love to say the word default. Republicans are going to cause a default. We can't default. We can't default. Cataclysmic results. Armageddon. I mean, that's basically what they're trying to say is going to happen. So what is it that has to be done? Because then we can figure out where the leverage is in the entire discussion.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. This whole situation with Biden saying he's only going to pass a clean bill reminds me of when Henry Ford said, you can have the Model T in any color you want as long as it's black. Basically saying he's not going to negotiate puts a lot of pressure on House Republicans, and there's really, the window's sort of closing right now in terms of what can happen, and most of the options are not good ones. So if it were to happen that the debt ceiling wouldn't be raised or that there wouldn't be some sort of deal made, the Treasury would immediately have to delay payments for things like Social Security, Medicare, all that sort of thing. Federal employees would probably keep working. So it's different than when we have the shutdowns, because in the shutdowns we have this spectacle of public parks and all that closing, but there would immediately be a lot of shifting away from certain regular payments that are made if this were to occur. And Yellen says that the drop-dead date, the X date, is 1 June, but there's a little flexibility there. So it's going to be a pretty tense month, I think.
Peter, what's the next move for Republicans if the president just continues to steadfastly, refuse to negotiate with them?
Right. So I made a little list last night of maybe 6 possible outcomes that can come, and we can talk about any of these if you like. So the first is that we could wind up getting a deal between Biden and McCarthy. Right now, anything that would pass in the Senate would not pass in the House, and vice versa. So that seems unlikely. There's also another option is that right now, Democratic lawmakers have been working on something called a discharge petition. Now, I'm not a lawyer, I'm certainly not a politician, but it's a way to call a bill to the House floor without the approval of the Speaker. That's kind of an end run that could be done at the last moment to sort of get away from McCarthy and the Republicans. They could do what I think the most likely is that they're going to pass a suspend the debt ceiling type bill, where they can say, okay, we're going to fund the government for now, and then we're going to go back to the negotiating table in, say, 3 months, 6 months, something like that. The White House could possibly act on its own. It can basically order. This is the diciest proposition right now is to order the creation of the $1 trillion platinum coin. That's something that could happen, although that would probably face a lot of obstacles. And of course, the U.S. could default. The U.S. could also default, which would be the worst possible option. But that's something that I guess at this point we have to continue to think about because there's this brinksmanship going on.
What's the platinum coin? That's a new one for me. I mean, the Constitution says that spending bills and budget comes out of the House, but what is that option? That's a new one for me.
Yeah. So the $1 trillion coin scheme has come up twice now. Every time there's this sort of budget impasse and this debt ceiling impasse. And basically, the idea is that the Treasury would mint a platinum coin. It would basically print on that coin worth $1 trillion, and then the Treasury would give that coin to the Fed, and the Fed would have to, they say the Fed would have to give the Treasury basically $1 trillion in return for it. Now, that could be damaging for a few reasons, not least of which because the Fed is not obligated to accept that coin. Now, that could turn bad to worse because if you have this spectacle where the government prints this coin, says, here, Fed, give us $1 trillion for this, and the Fed says no. Now you have a whole host of other issues. You have constitutional issues. You have spending issues. It would be pretty ugly. But I mean, overall, it's a spending gimmick. It's a silly idea, but it really tells us how bad spending has got when the government is considering sort of harebrained schemes like this.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds. I mean, yes, it sounds like a silly thing, but this really kind of frightens me, Peter. That this is something that anybody in Washington would look at as an option or has looked at as an option. Let's mint a coin and declare it worth $1 trillion because I just gave you a coin. That reminds me of thinking I was rich when I was a little kid because I got wooden nickels at the parade.
Exactly. No. This is the clearest sign, among others, that we have a tremendous spending problem. That these sorts of schemes are being done. And by the way, I have to emphasize the Fed is supposed to be apolitical. One of the things about the Federal Reserve is that it's supposed to be independent, and to put pressure on the Fed to accept this would be, it would be unprecedented, at least in the U.S. I mean, some other central banks and government funding facilities in other countries are quite political, but we would be fully through the looking glass if this sort of thing were attempted.
Peter, like most Americans, my memory is a little faulty and a little short on this, but have we had this before where you've got, the House agreeing to increase the debt limit, but a president saying, no, but we're not going to do it. We're only going to do it on my terms, or we're not going to do it at all?
So we had that sort of rhetoric from President Obama about 10 years ago, but even then he didn't say, only a clean bill will pass. He didn't say that. So there's a little more flexibility, behind the scenes with President Obama. But there was this sort of obstinacy. But this is, again, I've used the word probably 3 times this morning. It's probably unprecedented. I've never heard of saying, I'll only pass a clean debt limit, and then also inviting people to negotiate. I mean, what's the point?
We're visiting with Peter Earle from the American Institute for Economic Research. Okay, so what does this mean to the rest of us? I mean, obviously, you've talked about some of the default and things that could happen to different government entities and programs. But let's talk about like the stock market. Let's talk about my retirement plan. Let's talk about my investments because I know that even bad policy that's stable can be better than a debate over good policy that's unstable. I mean, does this have an effect on all of us who just live normal lives here right now? Because we're looking at this as a political spectacle, but I think sometimes we forget this affects us. Yeah,
this would have very real consequences. And by the way, you're absolutely right. Bad policy is way better for markets than no policy. I'm not a fan of bad policy, but the longer this goes on unresolved, we're going to start to see effects. I mean, I've seen estimates that the equities, like for example, the S&P 500 could fall 30 to 50%, in a few days if this were to happen. If the debt ceiling weren't to be negotiated. As for treasuries, I mean, just on the mere suggestion that this could end badly on June 1st. Yesterday we had the one year Treasury bond just collapsed on that news. So I mean, this would create tremendous upheaval in financial markets. It would possibly prevent people who are ready to retire from retiring. It would affect the ability of businesses to access financing. I mean, I think it's so big I can't even consider all of the possible implications.
Peter, this is Stal Ponticus. Does the situation with the regional banks dovetail into this entire scene that we're seeing economically? Because we've got regional banks that are having plenty of problems. Do you think they kind of work together here?
Yeah, it certainly does, because one of the things that what's been hurting and killing a few of these banks is called the duration gap, and that's when your long-term fixed assets are returning less than your short-term deposit liabilities. Now, if you think about it, if we were to have short-term interest rates skyrocket, that mismatch already, that basically that spread would get way wider. So I think if the closer that we get to June 1st, what would happen is the short-term interest rates would get higher on worry about the solvency of the government and the ability of the government to pay those debts. And what you would have is more and more banks that are, even some that are right now okay, would sort of get swept into this duration gap problem, and subsequently you would have depositors wanting to leave, you would have doubts about their solvency, and you would have a whole second wave of this mini banking crisis that we're seeing right now.
Peter, do you get a sense as to what's driving this stance on behalf of Biden? What's driving this?
Well, I mean, I think that early in his presidency, President Biden said he wanted to be looked upon in the annals of history as another FDR, as somebody who created huge government programs, somebody who made government work for the people, somebody for whom, this idea of government serving the people could not be large enough, could not be grand enough. And for that reason, I think he feels sort of this obstinance to make these things happen. And also, I mean, they have right now we've got the midterms didn't go well, so I think there's a bit of headiness, a bit of arrogance that's running through the administration.
So at this point, while the Republicans can say, we gave you a debt ceiling increase, your party won't accept it, the reality is that the pressure, it sounds like, is still on the Republicans when it comes to this leverage. Because, I mean, if June 1st comes and goes and there's no deal, and are the Republicans just in a position to where they have to relent and allow more federal spending? Because their whole thing is you can drive us further into debt, you can have more debt, but we have to talk about spending. And are they going to be in a position to be able to hold to that line at all? I mean, I frankly question the fortitude of a lot of congressional Republicans anyway. But as we get closer, does the leverage point favor the left and the White House?
I think it does. Unfortunately, I think right now, if there's an edge, the edge is with the White House, especially because they have the Senate, and so I think there will have to be a little bit of coming with hat in hand by the Republicans rather. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's going to depend so much on who thinks they have the best spin for this. If they have to wind up explaining on June 2nd why Social Security checks didn't go out, or why certain things aren't happening that usually do. So yeah, I mean, it's an ugly situation, and I think if there is an edge, it's with the White House. But maybe McCarthy knows something I don't know.
All right. Peter Earl from the American Institute for Economic Research. Where do we find you online to keep up with your work, Peter? Appreciate the update.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm at AIER.org, Peter C. Earl. I'm on there, and I'm also on Twitter at Peter_C_Earl. All of our writings are at AIR, and there's a lot of other great writers to check out at the site. All
right, Peter. Good talk to you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, 314-912-1019. I really, 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 really hope that I'm not in a position still to do the I told you so thing, because I said early on Republicans are going to buckle on this.
I agree totally. And I don't want to see June 2nd be a disaster day.
You have no idea how much I want to eat my words.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you could.
I would love to say I was wrong, people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy, we'll find out. All right, today isn't exactly a holiday, but there's a national day for everything, right?
Sure.
This one's kind of spooky.
Ooh.
I'll tell you about it in about 3 minutes on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Hey guys, Columbo here, reminding you that if you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are part of a group or a sports team that needs to raise money, there's no better way to do so than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza has been helping local organizations raise money for over 30 years to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. A local company helping local people, and there's lots of different ways TJ's can help you raise big money fast. Get started now at tjspizza.com.
Adam, man, your aunt parties are the best. I mean, you always find the best kitchens with all the crumbs.
Thanks, man. I love finding these homes to do this at.
Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
No matter where you live, what you make, or who you voted for, there are some things that will impact all of us soon. Whether you're concerned about the alarming increase in man-made disasters, financial institutions collapsing, or worsening food shortages, Americans are preparing in numbers not seen since World War II. What's changed is how we prepare. And the folks at My Patriot Supply have made it easier than ever for you to have peace of mind, knowing you're ready for what's next. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and stock up on over a dozen emergency food kits. These include tasty breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, fruits, veggies, meats, and snacks, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one kit per person. As we all know, calories equals energy equals survival. My Patriot Supply food kits are in stock and shipped discreetly. We've seen too many Americans let down by institutions we used to trust. It's time to rely on ourselves. MyPatriotSupply.com. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Hey, St. Louis, it's Dan Bongino, proud to be part of the News Talk STL lineup.
Every weekday from 11 to 2, we'll get together to talk about what's going on.
News, analysis, opinion, and always some fun. Make an appointment to be with us every weekday beginning at 11 on News Talk STL.
Welcome home.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL.
It's not Halloween, of course.
No, gosh, no.
No. But we can be a little spooky today if you want.
Oh.
Okay, so it's National Paranormal Day.
Ooh.
What this proves is that there is a national day for pretty much everything.
Sure.
All right, 314-912-1019. Do you have any spooky, otherworldly experiences? I would love to hear them. By the way, the News Talk STL streaming app, it is free. It downloads very, very quickly to your phone. Use it for your Bluetooth or wherever you go. Take us with you anywhere. But yeah, we are on the streaming space, so find us there. Just whatever app store you've got, Android, iPhone, whatever. News Talk STL, and download us. All right, National Paranormal Day. Got any spooky experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some in my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Stell, you had anything
No,
weird?
I haven't had anything goofy like that, no.
You know, it's kind of funny because I love the paranormal TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in any of them. I don't believe what they're claiming that's happening. It's like, I don't believe personally, I don't believe that there are leftover people here. You know, that's just my beliefs. But for some reason, I love the shows.
I have to admit, when I was a kid, Twilight Zone was fun to watch.
Sure.
I don't know if
sure.
that would be in that category,
I think so.
but that might have been it for me.
Yeah. No, I've seen a UFO, and by that I mean by definition it was a UFO.
Unidentified.
We don't know exactly what it was.
Right.
It was probably some sort of meteorite kind of thing, but we saw that. And after my grandmother passed, several years after she passed, I actually felt her hand on my shoulder and heard her voice in my ear once.
Oh. Okay.
It was not scary. It was reassuring. But it was weird. I mean, because it was like tangible. It wasn't.
How old were you when that happened?
Oh, in my 30s.
Okay. So it was like the other day.
Oh, you. Good one. Yeah, no, it was a little longer ago than that. But
Okay.
no, I mean, I was fully grown. I was putting away laundry, and I had some stuff on my mind, but I literally heard her voice and felt her hand on my shoulder.
Wow.
I have to admit, Kathy had one a couple of years ago when her stepmother passed away. It was in the middle of the night, and she heard trumpets going off. Trumpets. And she knew that something had happened. It was just one of those things where the trumpets went off. She heard, I did not hear them at all. And come to find out a couple hours later that her stepmother had passed away right at that very moment when she heard the trumpets as like the trumpets of heaven going off. So that was one that I can think of in specific.
Now, the only thing that's kind of, I guess, along those lines is when my grandmother many years ago was at the end of her life, and I was the one who lived closest to her, and so I was in the hospice care there and just kind of sitting in with her, and both her and then a few years before that, my grandfather who died before her, they both were like looking up and talking to somebody, and she was saying his name. And then he was talking. Now with him, it was the cancer had gotten into his brain, so it was just gibberish. But he would say people's names from like his past younger days.
Right.
Now that's kind of explainable, but she was like fixated.
Yeah.
On the ceiling, on there, and then very short time later she was gone. So that was the only thing with that. And then I've told the story on the air here. Back when I used to work at a think tank here in the St. Louis area.
Our favorite think tank.
There were stories about that building.
Oh, I don't
where
doubt
their
it.
offices are.
Yeah.
And I was the guy who would stay late because I just get more stuff done when everything's quiet, and I do. And when it got dark and it got late, I had a series of really weird things happen.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so you have had paranormal experiences.
Oh, yeah. Those would by definition be. And it was funny because one of them, the worst one, which I mean, stuff moving and noises. And, I actually saw a very bizarre thing. And I kind of remembered the writings of Martin Luther at that time, which I know is a very strange thing to do, but I read too much stuff. And Martin Luther at one point was writing about how he was in his house and there was some sort of, poltergeist activity that was throwing pots and pans around trying to scare him. And he said something to the effect of, oh, then I realized it was only Satan. I went back to bed. And that's...
I know a lot of stories revolve around the Lemp Mansion here on the south side of the city.
Yeah.
I have never actually been there. I need to go do that tour. I love that stuff. I love those tours. I love doing that stuff. Years ago when I was in Scotland, they had like a haunted Scotland tour. And I'm thinking, oh, they probably got some of the best ones out there. But they were all booked up and I couldn't go. And besides, it was like my wife was like, this is our honeymoon. Maybe a ghost tour is not the way to. Okay, fine, But I mean, I've done the ghost tours of like Savannah, Georgia.
Sure.
And those are really cool because they're great stories.
Right.
That's the thing is that they're really cool stories.
That's the best part about them.
Yep. Oh, man. All right. Got any stories? Let me know. I'm watching the Rumble chat box. We've got the Facebook page up as well. So we got a lot of ways to hear those stories. All right, just ahead here at 7:04 or so. St. Louis is the focus of a whole lot of talk at the state capitol. Tell you why we're the center of attention, and it's not really always a good thing.
Yeah.
Pretty scary.
Tuesdays just got better with Taco Tuesdays at Espino's Mexican Grill and Hippo's Cannabis Dispensary. These two great local small businesses right next door to each other in beautiful Chesterfield Valley, 17409 Chesterfield Airport Road. Shop Hippo's on Tuesdays. Spend $50 or more. Get 2 tacos from Espino's with a valid Hippo's lunch ticket. Hippo's open on Tuesdays from noon to 7 p.m. Hippo's has those experienced personal bud tenders to walk you through the entire process. Espino's Mexican Grill has experienced personal bartenders and waitresses to take your order. You might even see Brett Hull, Kelly Chase, or Barrett Jackman at Hippo's Dispensary in Chesterfield. Espino's Mexican Grill, Hippo's Dispensary, together in Chesterfield Valley, 17409 Chesterfield Airport Road. Espino's MexicanBarGrill.com, Hippo'sCannabis.com. If it's a bud tender or bartender, they've got it all.
All deals valid only while supplies last. Must be over 21. No cash value. Management retails all rights. Medical decisions should not be made based on advertising. Consult a physician on the benefits and risks of particular medical marijuana products. This message is not designed to increase interest in purchasing medical marijuana nor any particular product. License number DIS 000129.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everyday.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Police in San Jacinto County, Texas, say there have been multiple arrests in connection with a fatal shooting of 5 people in Cleveland, Texas, last Friday night. Sheriff Greg Caper says the man who allegedly pulled the trigger, illegal immigrant Francisco Oropesa, had previous run-ins with the law.
We actually filed charges on him in 2022, and to the best of my knowledge, we got a warrant for him, and the constable went to serve him in another county because he left here and never could make contact with the subject.
The sheriff, speaking with KTRK, says Oropesa was captured hiding in a closet just a few miles from the crime scene. Although he will meet with congressional leaders, the White House says President Biden will not negotiate a debt ceiling increase with Republicans. And that stubborn stance apparently not going over well with many Americans.
74% of likely voters believe the president should agree to negotiate over the debt ceiling, which would likely involve spending cuts. A new Echelon Insights poll also found that 58% of those who lean Democrat believe the president should get to the negotiating table. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said Tuesday that the only practical path to avoid default is for Congress to suspend the debt limit without conditions. Tasha Stevens reporting.
The U.S.-Ukraine arms pipeline remains wide open.
The Biden administration is sending Ukraine another $300 million in military aid, artillery rounds, howitzers, air-to-ground rockets, and ammunition.
Correspondent Ben Thomas says this comes at a time when Russia is significantly boosting its weapons production. We'll hear from the Fed later today. The central bank expected to announce another interest rate hike. Wall Street, Dow futures up 25 points, NASDAQ futures ahead 26. More on these stories, townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Another cool morning under clear skies. Beautiful day on tap today. Finally, we'll reduce the wind speeds out of the northwest. Maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per hour this afternoon. That's going to feel a lot better. The high about 68 degrees. Lows tonight in the 40s again, and highs tomorrow in the mid-70s with rain and storms showing up tomorrow night into Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
If you're even thinking about buying a home, you need to contact Homestead Financial Mortgage. Get pre-approved. Jump ahead of others looking at the same house. Often you can close in as little as 15 days. Homestead Financial Mortgage can guide you and your realtor through the maze that slows down the process. Go to my website, easy to remember, larry.homesteadfinancial.com. My first name, larry.homesteadfinancial.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Hey guys, St. Louis is the life of the party right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, baby. All right, at the state capitol, the attention is on the city of St. Louis. I guess you could say the region of St. Louis, but kind of the city of St. Louis. That's Susie Moore from redstate.com. She's in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. Stel Ponticus is here, of course. I'm Mike Ferguson, coming up on 7:06. So, I mean, here's what I this morning I'm kind of looking through all the news and all the headlines. And in the state legislature, this is the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So this is where stuff really kind of comes down to the wire. You're going to see a flurry of activity. I am convinced that the majority of things are going to be just for show, and then they're going to run out the clock and go, oh, geez, I really tried. Give me credit for trying. But, boy, we just couldn't do it. Gosh darn the system. And so there's a lot of that BS and nonsense that's going on, and you can only point the finger at Republicans for the most part on this.
Yeah, they're the ones in charge.
Yeah, exactly. So the Democrats, though, were filibustering last night.
What were they filibustering
Okay,
about?
couple things. One is the proposal to put the police department back under state oversight.
Okay.
Now what was interesting is I've read a couple of different versions of the proposal that's being bantered about there. There was one that says it's a state board and the governor would appoint it and the mayor would be on it along with governor's appointees. But I read another article this morning that said that there was a proposal, and I'm a little confused by it because it's the first time I've read it, that said the Board of Aldermen president would be the person on the board, as opposed to the mayor. So everything I have read and every lawmaker I have spoken to says the proposal is the mayor would be on the board, which frankly makes more sense to me. Now, I don't think it lacks sense to have the president of the Board of Aldermen on that board if that were to happen. But you saw the debate, the filibustering that was happening because Stephen Roberts, state senator, was saying this is a political attack on the city of St. Louis.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to respond to that in just a minute because I got a pretty strong opinion on why I disagree with Senator Roberts on that. And I've only met him once, and he seems like a nice enough guy. But let me tell you why I think I disagree with that. And so there's a filibuster on that particular thing. And the Democrats, their argument is, but you won't pass gun control laws. That's their argument. That's their go-to. You won't pass gun control laws, and when you want to take it's not our fault that our crime rate is skyrocketing because you won't pass gun control laws.
Those same laws that apply to the entire state?
Yes, same ones. Yes.
But it's only having the effect in the city?
Right. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So, but they're talking about us.
Okay.
You ever want to be the cool kid at the party?
Well, I guess some people would rather have their, all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, I think the Twitter era shows that's not the case, but that's the argument. So that's one thing that where St. Louis is the center of the discussion. The other one has to do with appointing a special prosecutor to come in.
Okay.
and prosecute, those crimes that are apparently running rampant because people in Chillicothe are allowed to buy a gun.
It's just, yeah. I'm kind of at a loss for words with that, Mike. I'm just trying to work through in my brain the logic because
Yeah.
I didn't listen to the discussion, so
Right.
I'm sure that people were making their arguments, presenting their cases.
Yeah.
But that's a tough sell to me.
And it was a full-on filibuster the Democrats were doing, which they've done now a couple times. And when you're outnumbered like that, that's the only tool in the toolbox you've got.
Sure.
But the Republicans laid over the bill and basically said, fine, we give up. We're walking off. And they laid over the bill late last night. I think it was
Okay.
around midnight or so. So the Democrats at this point know that all they have to do is stomp their feet a little bit, and the Republicans are rolling over and saying, okay, we don't want the fight. Well, but that's what happens when you don't push stuff through that you say is a priority at the beginning of the legislative session.
Right.
If you get down to the end, then you can play games, and then you can walk around on the campaign trail saying, well, we tried. You could go do the rubber chicken dinner circuit, at the county committee meeting or whatever, and go, boy, we really tried, but gosh darn it, those darn Democrats just wouldn't let us do a thing.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. And I know that my friends get mad at me when I say that, my friends in the legislature, but I'm just calling the balls and strikes. This is how I see it.
It's the same thing that they do. They play the same game at the federal level.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Oh.
Oh, we were going to do this, but the stupid Republicans wouldn't let us do this or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just gamesmanship, and then you have to peel the layers back and see what's really driving the agendas there.
Now, here's another bill that was the center of discussion that has to do with St. Louis specifically, to some degree Kansas City, but basically St. Louis. And this is over the earnings tax.
Oh, yeah.
And remote work.
Uh-huh.
Because during the whole shutdown era, there was a lawsuit.
Yeah, wasn't that Beavis shot?
I think it was
Yeah.
Beavis. I think Beavis did that one. If there's a lawsuit that is valid, that is a thorn in the side of the left machine, it generally Beavis is involved with it. And so this had to do with people saying, wait a minute, I don't live in the city. I'm not working in the city.
Yeah.
Therefore, I shouldn't be paying this earnings tax on the days I'm not working in the city.
Right.
Now, Kansas City responded to that because they have an earnings tax too, and they said, yeah, you're right. And they basically did the refunds.
Uh-huh.
St. Louis is like, no, your job is based here. Doesn't matter where you are, you got to pay that. And so there's a bill that would clarify that and change the law. It says if you don't actually work there, doesn't matter where your boss's office is. If you don't actually work there, you don't have to pay it for the time you're not working there. And of course, the city is throwing a fit and everything on that. They're saying this would be devastating to the city revenues, which just says they're arguing that the city having money in their coffers is more important than us having money in ours.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of
That's
a given.
government.
That's not just the city.
That's not exclusive to Democrats either.
No, it is not.
It's a very government-first mindset. But let me go back to what Senator Steve Roberts said, and I read this quote this morning, where he said, this is a political attack on the city of St. Louis. Here's the thing, Steve. Most of the state, I have lived in other parts of the state, many parts of the state. They would rather not even think about St. Louis outside of St. Louis. I know that we're focused on what happens here, but the rest of the state would rather not care about what St. Louis does. They're involved with what St. Louis is doing because St. Louis can't fix its own problems or won't fix its own problems. So they feel like they have to come in and do it. They don't want to do this. They're not out saying, let's go get St. Louis. Let's go get them.
Right.
They don't want to deal with St. Louis, but they're really at a point where they don't have a choice, they think.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this kind of as a metaphor because calling it a political attack on the city. Well, what about the city's attack on the rest of the state?
Yeah.
When you talk about the violence, the crime, the issues that don't just limit themselves to the city limits. And the bottom line is, yes, this entire region is based around the city, and it does everybody benefits when the city is doing well and thriving from a tourist standpoint, just from an overall economic standpoint. And we're watching that slowly go down the drain. So yeah, at a certain point, the rest of the people that are affected by this should have some say in it.
And I know that there are media figures who argue, boy, the city of St. Louis is the economic engine of the state. I don't think that's true anymore. I think you could still argue that maybe the region is a major driver. But I would say if you have to look at an economic engine, look at St. Charles and maybe Clayton.
Yeah.
For a lot of that that corporate business and even some of that industrial activity. But I don't think you can argue that the city is, because so much of the city's revenues is collected from people who don't live there.
That's the other thing. I mean, when you consider the people that actually live in the city versus the people that don't live in city proper but actually come into the city to work. I mean, if you want those people, if you want that 1% earnings tax from those people, you've got to give them a reason to come into the city.
Right. I mean, and that 1% earnings tax, I mean, the Show Me Institute is 100% right about that earnings tax. And I know there are people who say, oh, nobody refuses to move their job into St. Louis over 1%. Really? Because that's not just on the workers, that's on the business as well.
Yeah. It adds, I mean, it sounds like just a little bit, but when you actually do the math on it and people that are looking at their bottom lines and everything like that, like what? Absolutely, it makes a difference.
If you're a business that generates $100 million in revenue in a year, which would be a good sized business, that's $1 million.
That's a lot.
That's yeah. And so it's a stupid policy. I get mad every time that I get a paycheck because I see that that's a tax that I am not allowed to oppose. I'm not allowed to vote on. I'm not allowed to vote against or for the people who support it because I live 3 blocks outside of the city in Richmond Heights, but they still take my money.
I paid it for nearly 30 years and never had a chance to vote on it myself.
I know. And but so the state legislature says, wait a minute, the economy has changed. You could get a job with somebody who's got an office in St. Louis, but you could be working in Clayton. You could be working in Chesterfield. You could be working in Arnold. You could be working in Washington still. You could be working in St. Peters. You could be working in St. Charles. You could be working in Joplin. You could be working in Omaha, but the city of St. Louis wants to take that 1%.
Yeah.
So when you start threatening, and they say you're threatening their money, no, you're threatening. They're trying to preserve our money. Because that earnings tax is supposed to be what you've earned in the city.
Right.
And if you don't earn it in the city, why in the world are you paying it?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they get that one across the finish line.
Yeah. I don't know.
It wasn't supposed to be their number one priority. There's a few other things I would rather see them get something done on.
Yeah, a lot of things. And the frustrating thing, Susie, is that they could have. Republicans who had a very good agenda going in legislation.
They sure did.
They could have just steamrolled it in and let Tony Messenger throw a fit. Who cares? They could have steamrolled it in after a month and then gone home. But they're not going to do it.
Bless their hearts.
Yeah. And you mean that in a very Southern Belle
I
way?
do.
Yes. 314-912-1019. Speaking of what they could have done and don't, another state takes the action that Missouri just refuses to do and making child abuse a felony when it comes to the so-called gender ideology thing. I'll tell you which state, what they're doing. Is it perfect? No, but it's better than what's about to happen in Missouri, assuming something happens in Missouri. We'll talk about that around 7:20 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You want to give me more information. You want to take the place of what I trust.
Larry Connors, USA.
It's not uncommon today for young people to try out different labels in search of their truth.
In search of their truth or following your indoctrination.
Larry Connors.
Which came first?
Weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Columbo and Katie.
Did you hear Joe Biden's most recent gaffe? Oh, yeah. About licking. He said, let's go lick the world. There is an old-fashioned phrase of, like, licking somebody in a fight.
I'm just sick of hearing old men say weird things like this. I'm sick of old men saying, suck my tongue and let's go lick the world.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint.
Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Fox News commentary.
Title 42 expires next week and all hell is about to break loose. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or T-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
If you thought the 5 million plus illegal immigrants the Biden administration has welcomed into our country in the last 2 years was bad, wait till Title 42 expires on May 11th. It's about to be a run on the border like we've never seen before, but the Democrats are working behind the scenes to make it appear like they've got a plan to stem the tide. Yes, they've come up with a clever workaround. They're going to start processing these people in Guatemala and Colombia so as to reduce the appearance of a large-scale border invasion. They'll process them there out of your sight, then usher them in here. It's still an invasion, it just won't look so obvious, and they'll call it refugee resettlement. I know a lot of you have turned a blind eye to the border, but what's coming is about to smack you square in the face. If this isn't a major Republican election issue in 2024, we aren't serious about America first. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
I never meant to be so bad to you.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Catch me tonight at 7 o'clock. But right now, back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
From you and I would fall from grace, and that would wipe the smile right from my face.
Coming up on 722 here, another state outlaws the mutilation of children, and I'm still confused as to why Missouri's lawmakers won't do the right thing. You know what? That's not true. I do understand why they won't. Money.
That's usually the answer to most things, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's Susie Moore from redstate.com who's in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. Stel Ponticus is here. My name's Mike. Don't forget, Bless Jewelers and News Talk STL. We got a great Mom's Day opportunity for you, and it's free. Just go to newstalkstl.com and tell us why the mom in your life rocks. And we've got the gallery already up of people saying, I love my mom because, and just a 1, 2, 3 sentences. Put them up there, and we will display it. You can send that to anybody, put it on your social media, screenshot it, whatever. But we're going to pick out one of those entrants, and somebody's going to get a $500 gift certificate to Blessed Jewelers, blessedjewelers.com. So the sooner you do that, the better. And we had somebody ask, like, wait a minute, why do you need my address? Because if you get picked, we need to know where to send the gift certificate. That's why.
How it works.
I mean,
yeah.
literally, we're going to send you a gift certificate that you can take into Blessed Jewelers and say $500 worth of beautiful jewelry, please. And they're going to go, oh, yep, okay.
Perfect.
Go shopping. Blessed Jewelers in Creve Coeur. So newstalkstl.com is where you can read what other people are already writing about the moms in their lives, and you can contribute to that as well. A lot of fun. Okay, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt has signed into law what they called SB 613, which means nothing to us. But what it means is that in Oklahoma now, participating in anything that has to do with gender ideology, the gender dysphoria, the so-called transition, which is not a real thing, but hormone injections, puberty blockers, certainly surgeries, all of these things, participating in that on someone who is a minor is now a felony in Oklahoma.
Wow.
Idaho did the same thing. South Dakota did the same thing. It's not particularly strong in that it doesn't look like anybody's going to do hard time for mutilating a child or irreversibly altering their chemicals and their hormones in their bodies. But it's still technically going to be a felony, which could, mean somebody loses their license to practice medicine and all that sort of thing. And there's opening up for more lawsuits and things like that. The proposal in Missouri, as I pointed out many, many times, is basically not worth the ink that it's printed with. Because all it does is say, well, you can sue if you change your mind down the road, but you could do that anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, what was going to stop you from suing anyway? So if you're rich enough and you have a lawyer, you can sue if you change your mind down the road if you realize how bad this has been for you. Now, the difference here with this law right here is that it focuses on children. It focuses on minors.
Right.
The minute you turn 18 and you are of legal age, Susie, it does not apply. And if that's what you want to do to yourself, you are free to do it.
And that's true of the Oklahoma law
Yep.
and of the Missouri law that's proposed.
Yes, that is correct. Now, the Attorney General's restrictions,
That's where I was going.
That's a different story. Did he overstep with his regulations?
That has me really puzzled.
Yeah.
Because, I think there's a very, very strong argument for what he's doing with regard to minors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I understand the concern about even adults maybe needing to make sure that people actually go through, a process before just deciding, hey, I think I want to transition. I don't have an issue with suggesting that. I do have an issue with the state, saying you cannot do this.
Right.
So I'm a little puzzled by that. And I feel like that clouds the issue as to minors.
So do you think because right now we've got a judge in St. Louis County.
Judge Roboto.
Who is reviewing the case and who has now for the second time said, okay, temporary restraining order.
Right.
We're going to, I forgot what date it is. I know
May
it's coming-
15th.
Okay. So coming up here in another week or so, that they're going to look at the issue. Does the fact that this applies to everybody as opposed to just children weaken his case from a legal perspective? I'm not talking about a moral or an ethical or anything like that, but from a legal perspective, had it just focused on minors, because we've got other laws that restrict things for minors.
I think it may. The reason I'm hesitating is because I really haven't looked at much from a legal analysis standpoint, because we're not really talking about constitutional issues.
Right.
But I do think that there's a stronger argument for restricting this as to minors than as to adults. And I think that's kind of one of the arguments that even people that really feel strongly about transgenderism in a negative way, most people are like, hey, you know what? If you're a grown person and you want to do that, I don't agree with it, but that's your choice.
Yeah.
So
I'll buy you a cup of coffee, try to talk you out of it, but I'm not going to call in the government.
I don't know if in digging into this information, it was just so mind-boggling what was going on that they felt like it should be applied to everybody. But I do think that undercuts the case, both morally and legally.
Could the judge separate out minor versus of age, or says nope, it's just this? You wrote it. It's either one or the other.
I don't know, because we're not talking about legislation. We're talking about we're talking about basically an executive order. Not coming from the chief
Attorney
executive,
General.
but
Yeah.
So I don't know that the judge can split the order.
So the question here isn't whether or not it's a good or bad order. The question is, does he have the authority to implement that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Got Andre on the line here. Hey, Andre, you're on News Talk STL. What's your take?
So I think the biggest argument for restricting it, even for adults, is we don't encourage or allow mental health professionals to encourage suicide or depressed adults to commit suicide, because we recognize it as a mental illness. This is also a mental illness. So why are we allowing people to be encouraged to take drastic life-altering steps, even if they are adult? Because it's a mental illness, they're not in a proper state of mind.
Well, I agree that it's a mental illness, but I'm not in the medical community, which has been captured by the left. So from a legal perspective, attorney Susie, Andre's saying, hey, because we shouldn't be in the practice of encouraging harmful things, but who's deciding what's harmful?
So people undergo elective surgeries all the time. People get their breasts enhanced. People do other kind of things, body modification, that some people might look at and say, look, that's, you're trying to fix something that's psychological or emotional with, surgery, that's not healthy. That's not mentally healthy. They still have the freedom to do that. And if we open up this sort of, but we're not going to allow you to do that for your own good, we're getting perilously close to a mirror of the arguments that we had during COVID. How much authority do we want the state to have?
A lot of those electric surgeries are reversible. A lot of the stuff for this transgender stuff is not.
Andre,
so you're allowing people who are don't have their complete mental faculties. And that's my opinion on the matter. Mm-hmm. Just like someone who is completely depressed, you can't say, okay, well, you might as well just go kill yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, I got to get to
encouraging harm at the same time.
Okay, Andre, I got to get to an information segment. Susie's I'm gonna give you her answer. But hey, you bring up a fair question.
Yeah, no,
man.
It's a fair question.
Hey, appreciate you being part of the show, man. Thank you so much. All right, Susie, what's your take?
As somebody who went through breast cancer a decade ago and was looking at possibly surgical responses to that, I'm going to say, telling somebody that you could have breast surgery, but then you could undo that breast surgery is not a realistic way of looking. Yeah, it's physically possible, but you're talking about massive amounts of healing, scar tissue. Mm-hmm. There's things that, to say it's reversible is kind of we're kind of whistling past the graveyard, I think.
Right. But now the point of that with the whole gender surgeries and things, absolutely irreversible. I mean, to some degree, you hear about the detransitioners, but they all will say there are permanent harms that were done.
And I would say when you do surgery, there's permanent changes to your body, regardless of what the purpose of the surgery is.
Right. I mean, I technically have had plastic surgery, but it was reconstructed because of injuries and burns, and things. So it wasn't cosmetic or anything. Well, it was, but it was because of reconstruction,
right?
Because, like I said, of all the burns I've had. So but from an ethical and a moral standpoint, I think Andre is absolutely correct. It is, I believe, firmly a complete mental illness, and we should not be affirming that. But that is an ethical question as opposed to a role of the state question.
Correct.
Which is why I draw the line at child, minor versus of age.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean that I am supportive of it. If somebody came and said, hey, Mike, I think I'm a girl. I'm going to go get the surgery. Will you support me? I'm going to be like, Joe, dude, no. Come on, let's go have a drink. Let's talk some common sense. But I'm not going to call the government in to stop him on that.
Right.
And I think that's an interesting point when you brought up we're getting close to the mindset that said this is what happened during the COVID era, is this is for your own good. Government knows best.
Right.
Now, I think it's fine to say, before you have any elective surgery, there should be some standards and checks in place. That's one thing. But for children, I think a ban is totally appropriate, and a criminal ban is absolutely appropriate as well. But I think Andre raises a fair question as well.
It is a fair question.
Yep. All right. 314-912-1019. Oh, speaking of ethics and crime, there's an update on the Kimberly Gardner situation.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why the word ethics would relate to Kimberly Gardner.
They don't seem to be in the same universe.
Lack of ethics and crime has to do with Kimberly Gardner. We'll bring you that update 7:35 right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Another cool morning under clear skies. Beautiful day on tap today. Finally, we'll reduce the wind speeds out of the northwest. Maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per hour this afternoon. It's going to feel a lot better. The high about 68 degrees. Lows tonight in the 40s again, and highs tomorrow in the mid-70s with rain and storms showing up tomorrow night into Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Take a good look at your lawn. You're probably going to find some issues. That's when you contact Allen Outdoor Solutions. They have a solution for everything. Steve and his team are experts in irrigation, landscaping, outdoor lighting, lawn care for home or business. Visit the Allen Outdoor Solutions website. You'll be amazed at the beauty and quality of work. Get a free quote, AllenOutdoorSolutions.com, or call 314-647-4800. 647-4800.
Do you live in West St. Louis County? Then you can get West News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. West News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. West News Magazine. Anybody who wants it gets it. Anybody who gets it wants it. Subscribe for free today. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here, excited to tell you about one of our newest clients. I've been a customer of them for years, Professional Irrigation Systems. If you're tired of dragging hoses around your yard to keep your grass alive every summer, now's the time to make your life easier. Residential irrigation installs in one day, custom designed for your property. They will enhance your curb appeal. They've also got landscape lightings, makes the architecture of your home stand out, making all your neighbors envious. Fertilization packages as well for all your lawn care needs and great financing options. ProIrrigation.com, 636-692-4441. ProIrrigation.com.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Columbo and Katie. Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch.
News Talk STL.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly here, and you can hear my no-spin commentary right here at 6:45 this evening. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Let's hear from Steve Perry.
I've been thinking about the time you walked out on me.
Oh, golly. This is one of my guilty pleasure songs, I'm telling you. When this came out in 86, if you were anywhere near Y98 Studio and I was on air, if those speakers went up to 15, you know, they may have said 10, but I cranked them to 15. There was just something about this song that grabbed me every single time. I never got tired of it.
Neil Sean's guitar is a fantastic here. Randy Jackson's bass. Obviously, Steve Perry's voice.
Just a perfect power ballad.
That's right. This was, again, off the Raised on Radio album, wasn't it?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a great all-around. And I know. See, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah,
See,
all right.
right here. It goes. Right. Did you have this album back in the day?
I didn't have this one, no.
No? Okay. I had this one in high school because
Yeah.
I think you said, what, 86?
86.
Yeah, that was high school.
That's when I graduated high school.
Yeah. So.
Good stuff.
Oh, that's great stuff. All right. As opposed to Kimberly Gardner, who's
not
doing
good stuff.
See, that's what we call a segue and a transition in the business. I'm a trained professional. Don't try this at home.
But we will say that we would be all right without her.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I tell you,
that should be her theme song.
If she gets booted, mark that down. That we're celebrating.
Absolutely.
Everybody would go for the cliche shana nana hey 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 goodbye. I think this is the one that we do. I think you're right still.
Kim will be all right without you.
Yes.
There'll be someone else, I keep telling myself.
They may be another extreme lefty, but they'll at least run the office.
Yeah, someone who actually knows what a calendar is.
Google Doc, something. Anything.
Something.
Okay, so here's what's going on. And I was actually a little confused early this morning. I'm reading all the headlines because there was a lot of stuff. It was like a flurry of activity.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't have a cup of regular coffee yet. And so on one hand, you say, judge cancels hearing in Kimberly Gardner case. Then there's another headline that says, judge rules case against Kimberly Gardner can move forward. Like, well, wait a minute. What's going on here? So basically, as I understand it, Susie, what's happened is the Attorney General has 10 different counts, 10 different points that says she should be booted from office. The judge agreed that 7 of them have some kind of merit and 3 of them don't meet whatever the threshold is. So that ruling happened, but then at the same time, there was something that was canceled yesterday that did not happen. So can you clear up what the status is here?
I absolutely can. So the judge that the case was pending in front of, Judge Torbitsky, who's an appellate court judge that was appointed by the Supreme Court because the judges from the city recused themselves since they're actually witnesses to all this. There was a hearing on April 19th. And one of the issues heard at that hearing was Kimberly Gardner's motion to dismiss the Attorney General's suit against her. And then there were some other matters about like how the discovery could proceed if the case went on, that sort of thing.
So like legalese stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
all that stuff. And that was a several-hour hearing. So he took all of that under submission, let them brief it a little bit more. Then after that, she moved for a change of judge, which she is entitled to do, as is the Attorney General. Just so you know, all
Right.
parties are entitled to one change of judge, and you don't have to explain why. You don't have to give a reason. It doesn't have to be for cause. You can just ask for a change of
And
judge.
the Attorney General didn't seem to have an issue with this.
Well, he couldn't.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you can't oppose someone's audit. You get one automatically as a matter of right. What he did do though was say, wait, this information or these issues were already heard by this particular judge. We should allow that judge to rule on those before it gets changed to a new judge, because otherwise you're just basically having to scrap that multi-hour hearing and start over from scratch with a new judge. That doesn't make any sense. So the current judge, Judge Torbitsky, did go ahead and rule, yes, the case can proceed. 3 of the counts aren't going to hold up, but 7 of the counts will, so you're going to go forward on this. At that prior hearing, they had set up a sort of a regular hearing schedule for every other Tuesday, basically, where they would just kind of all be there and touch base and see where they were on things, argue any sort of, ongoing discovery issues, that sort of thing, rather than trying to set individual hearing dates. They just
So like
kind of
housekeeping.
regular housekeeping every other Tuesday. Because he was no longer going to be the judge on this, and because he made his other ruling, they said yesterday's hearing wasn't necessary, so they just scrapped yesterday's hearing.
Okay, so we in the media have a vested interest in getting your eyeballs on our website and your earballs in our radio and everything that goes with that. So is this a big win for the Attorney General, or is this just a routine thing? I would think that a judge saying, no, there could be a case here, would be something that Kimberly Gardner did not want to hear at all.
This is a big win for the Attorney General
Okay.
and for the people of the city of St. Louis.
Good.
Because this is, this means that there's enough there to allow this to go forward. The discovery is going to go on. And, we don't know what's going to happen at the end of September. We don't know even what's going to happen between now and then, but we do know that the case is going to proceed. And this is the best chance there is for removing her from office. And she doesn't show any inclination to step down and do that reflection that Mayor Tashara Jones suggested that she do.
Channel 5 had a story on this yesterday where they talked to some law professor at SLU.
Okay.
And he said, it looks to me like maybe she just wants to get this round over with, hoping that it's a conservative judge who's going to rule against her. Then she can kick it directly to the state Supreme Court where she might have a better chance. I had never heard of a strategy like that before. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, because at that point you're on defense on an appeal, because then you basically have to prove that the first court was wrong on that. And I thought it was an odd assessment of the strategy, because it sounds like Kimberly Gardner wants to stretch this out as long as possible.
Yeah, I think, everything I'm reading from her actions is a delay tactic. When the Attorney General's office was asking for an August trial date, she was asking for a December trial date. After the hearing, she asked for a change of judge, which could theoretically delay the process. I don't see that at all. And the only reason, I think there are times when you recognize that your chances of winning at the trial court level are slim, but that you may have a good argument on appeal. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to go through that process. And I don't know what's ultimately going to happen at the trial of this. A judge could take all the information under submission or under advisement and decide, look, this is bad, but it doesn't warrant removal from office. There's no
because
guarantee
the standard,
of that.
we know it's a high standard,
It is a high standard.
But do we know what the standard is, because this is so rare?
Yeah, it's in the provision, and I don't have it off the top of my head. It has been used, and basically you have to show this sort of like willful, wanton disregard of and failure to uphold the duties of your office, and that's what's been alleged by the Attorney General's office.
And he's also saying that she's being very slow to turn over things as evidence, as far as the discovery part of this and the evidence, saying we're not getting documents, and the state auditor also saying we're not getting documents from them.
Well, I'm not familiar with the state auditor part of it, because I don't. That would be a separate.
Yeah, it's a separate thing.
Okay.
But I'm saying you've got a pattern here.
Oh, well, that's been the pattern all along. Now, I will tell you, part of the discovery process is this constant back and forth of delay and object and argue about what they are entitled to and what they aren't entitled to. This case is still so new that she couldn't really theoretically have delayed all that much. And she objected to most of what was requested, and then they had to hash that out. Now the judge, when he made his ruling yesterday, also ruled that most of what the Attorney General was asking for, they were entitled to.
Okay. And I saw a tweet yesterday. I think Jane Duker retweeted it, and it was from former Alderman Gross, who is talking about running against her for circuit attorney. Mm-hmm. And he pointed out, I thought this was interesting as Jane retweeted it.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Yeah, and he said she's enlisted more attorneys to defend her hide and her job than she has enlisted attorneys to prosecute violent crime in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, because, 2 more attorneys left. Yep. And she basically lost a third of her office since February. Both the attorneys that left were both of the ones that were on the hot seat with her over the 2 different, failure to appear situations. One of them is still on the hot seat for the contempt proceedings. Mm-hmm. That's a whole different set of issues. Last week, she wasn't held in contempt, but the judge said there was enough evidence to support that, so they're going to have a hearing on that at the end of May as to whether or not she and this other attorney, Chris Desolitz, will be held in contempt.
And he's the one who was actually apparently on medical leave.
No.
He was not. Okay,
no, that's
that
the
was
other
reported.
one. That's Polta.
Oh, that was the other one.
Yes.
Okay.
Both of those attorneys have now left.
Okay, then I reported it wrong on Tuesday then, because I was under the impression that was the guy who was on medical leave. So it was the other one.
Well, here's why it's confusing. Because there were 2 hearings last week on those 2 different cases about for Gardner's office to show cause as to why they shouldn't be held in contempt. The Monday hearing was for the attorney that was on medical leave.
Yeah.
And he's the one that showed up with his medicine and put it on the table and that sort of thing. That's Polta, or it starts with a P. Mm-hmm. That judge ultimately did not find that there was enough to go forward on a contempt proceeding. Then on Thursday, in front of Judge Noble, there was a second hearing about contempt, and that involved Desolitz and Gardner. Desolitz is the other one who left.
Right. But he walked off on Monday. Apparently, he just walked in, dropped off his keys, like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. But no, he was not on medical leave at that time. I think one of the days that he missed, somebody in his office said that he was maybe attending a medical appointment or something like that.
Yeah,
but he was not
had
on
a
leave.
knee injury or something.
Yeah, that was not he was out on leave. No.
Okay. So there was the medical thing there, but my understanding is he didn't document that.
Correct. Yeah, and he didn't alert the court, and that was one of the things that Judge Noble was questioning him very closely about, and one of the reasons why that matter is proceeding. So the bottom line is as if things weren't bad enough, you've got a circuit attorney who is facing quo warranto proceedings to remove her from office, 2 contempt hearings, and all kinds of chaos. Oh, and a third of her office leaving. But no, she's fine. Everything's fine.
And one of them who left, and I forgot her last name.
Natalie Ogorkowicz?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I actually, it's not so much I forgot as I didn't want to try to pronounce it again.
I don't know how I managed that one. It's actually Natalia.
Yeah, and she has said that she is working with the Attorney General's office, bringing her evidence in there as well.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, she said it was a toxic environment.
Yeah.
It was untenable.
But Desolitz was scheduled to try 2 murder cases this week.
Yes, he was.
And he just walked off.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't get him off the hook with the
contempt
of court thing.
He's still going to have to deal with that on May 30th. And, it was one of those things. I watched that hearing last Thursday. And the judge, that was the one where the judge called her office a rudderless ship of chaos.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He was questioning Desolitz because, of course, Gardner couldn't bother to be there. She sent a designee.
Which is amazing to me.
I know.
That's how arrogant.
And Desolitz was like, well, and he was, I think what he was trying to say was, and I agree with him, when you're a busy trial attorney, you are often double scheduled. You may have to be in multiple courtrooms at once. And it is not unusual, particularly on the criminal side, for judges to recognize that, oh, Desolitz is over in that courtroom right now. He'll get here, that sort of thing. But there needs to be a certain level of communication if you're going to be particularly delayed, so that the court isn't sitting there waiting for you. And there was a lack of communication, and he kind of got called out for that.
Okay, can I just ask the bigger picture question on this? His job is to try criminal suspects for violent crimes.
Correct.
How do you properly prepare to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that person committed a crime, maybe killed somebody, if this is the environment and you're in and you're scheduled in 3 places at one time and you're supposed to do trial prep and you're supposed to do all that investigative oversight, all of those things? Because we're talking about the incompetence of her administration and administrative ability, and we're talking about that would be almost like me walking in saying, well, I'm available, go try it. Well, I don't know anything about the case. By the way, I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
but somebody who is being thrown into it. So if those trials aren't delayed too long, somebody who has to start from zero to keep a criminal off the street, potentially, isn't able to do it. And this goes to keeping bad guys away from the rest of us.
Right. There's a delicate balance there. You're going to have in any, major metropolitan area, your prosecutors are going to be busy people, and they're going to have a heavy docket, and they're going to be juggling multiple cases. It's a high stress job. That's why so many people don't stay in it forever and ever, because you burn out. That said, there's a point at which that's still manageable. You've got your docket, you're going to be in trial in this division, so you run over to the other division and deal with that hearing real quick and then say, I'm going to go to trial. Theoretically, you're preparing, throughout the week and the weeks leading up to it, and you have assistants that are helping you with that. But this is way beyond that. This is people not even being able to show up because they're not keeping track of things, they're not communicating, and Gardner's not running her office in a way that...
Not to mention the police officers who are the witnesses are going to be sitting there waiting, and they're not out patrolling.
And the families of the victims, that sort of thing. I mean, it's just... It's an awful situation. Booker Shaw talked about the fact that it was just basically a death spiral, basically, of this office.
Yeah, and Kimberly Gardner has made it all about her.
Mm-hmm. You betcha.
All right. Just ahead here, we mentioned earlier this is a National Paranormal Day, and you said you actually had.
I do.
Okay, I want to hear your story. Do you have one for National Paranormal Day? 314-912-1019. This is 1019-941 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Do I miss you? Am I lying to myself again?
Columbo and Katie.
The Missouri Senate is currently debating returning control of the city police department to the state. We'll get an update on that and more on Wednesday from Rodney Boyd at 2:20, and we'll open up Closest Cabinet at 3:05.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tim Jones here for Rockwood Charcoal. If you love to grill as much as I do, I'm sure you prefer using charcoal over gas. Ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, we're not using anything else. Rockwood's made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and can be found in stores all across the country. It's the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal there is, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business right from my hometown of Eureka. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
iHelp is the immigrant home English learning program here in St. Louis that helps empower immigrant families by providing individualized, in-home English language education and tools for the effective navigation of our community. iHelp connects volunteer teachers with adult immigrant and refugee learners in our community to develop English and life skills. To learn more or to volunteer as a tutor, visit ihelpstl.org. That's ihelpstl.org.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
From trees that need planting to fences that need building, you have a lot to do. But that's no excuse to skip the most important step in any digging project, locating the underground facility. Submit a free locate request online at Missouri-811.org or by calling 811 3 working days before digging. Missouri 811 will contact the public utility owners so they can locate their underground utilities and you can dig with confidence. This ad is brought to you by Missouri 811.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
I am solely on the Biden 2024 train. Not Joe, by the way. No. Hunter Biden. Hunter 2024. I don't know if you guys know this, but Hunter Biden is an Eastern European oil executive. He's also a Chinese financier. He is a North African land development manager. He is a world-class painter. And he has done all of this while high on cocaine banging hookers. If that is not a presidential resume.
That's multitasking.
That really
Fair
is.
point.
That's
Fair
a guy
point.
by the name of Joe Bob Telefi, I think is how you say his
Well,
name.
amen, Joe Bob.
That has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about. I just
No.
couldn't resist playing that.
There are some paranormal aspects, maybe, in a way.
No kidding. Who knows what Hunter Biden was seeing on one of his trips there. But yeah, today is National Paranormal Day.
Yeah.
And the funny part is that I am one of those who, and we've talked about this over the years, Halloween and stuff like that, the spooky stuff, I love, absolutely love. And by the way, if you're conservative, but you like the ghost stories, one of the key conservative thinkers has an entire book of ghost stories. Did you know this?
No.
Russell Kirk.
Oh.
And they are some of the most beautifully written from a prosaic perspective.
Wow.
So good. Russell Kirk and his ghost stories. We have them at home. And I don't believe in, ghosts now. I think there's something out there. I'm not saying there's not. I think there is a paranormal, spiritual realm out there because I'm a Christian. I know that those things are out there.
Sure.
I just my catch line is I just don't think they're leftover people out there. But you mentioned a little bit ago that you said you actually had experience. You talked about one before, but you had
Right.
another story.
Yeah, no, I had forgotten about this, and it was just recent. And, it may or may not be paranormal, but it was freaky. Okay, just a couple weekends ago. So I have a second floor apartment. My bedroom window is it's a big, big window, and it really rattles with the wind. I mean, like bad.
You know why?
Why?
Because they don't have window world.
Right,
windows.
exactly. I knew. I was like,
just saying.
Right, there's an opportunity there. So it's always a little bit noisy with the wind and everything, but I'm used to that noise, and there are birds that I can hear out there. There's a tree outside my window, but it doesn't touch the building. It's Sunday night. I'm just drifting off to sleep. The dog's there with me, and you're kind of in that half asleep phase, and I hear on the window, and it was knock. It wasn't just something scraping up against or anything like that. It was
Like a tree
five.
branch
It
or
was
something.
5 raps on the window, and I was like, sat straight up, and I'm like, ain't nothing should be knocking on my window. It's the second floor, and
Whoa.
first of all, no one should be knocking on my window anyway. And I know I didn't imagine it because the dog, immediately got up and was like, her hair was standing up on the back of her neck and that sort of thing. Like, she heard it too. And I'm like, there's nothing good that's going to come from me investigating this.
That's like the comedic thing. It's like like what happens in white people in movies.
Yeah.
And when there's a horror movie, there's like the voice, like Eddie Murphy's thing.
Yep.
It's like white people are like, get out. And they're like, that's odd. We should go investigate that.
Right,
Whereas
yeah.
everybody else is like, out of here.
Right. I'm like sitting there like, what do I do? There's nothing I can do. I mean, I grabbed my phone, of course. And so then I was wide awake. So then I'm like surfing through the web. But that was the night of the Northern Lights. It was the night that we had a major G4 storm. Like there was a major solar storm. So I'm like, could it have been like some weird solar blast that came through and rattled my window? I don't know.
Now, was there a storm going on?
There wasn't an actual storm.
Okay,
No, it was
so
windy.
It could have been. Okay, so if it's wind, I mean, it could have been
No,
rattling.
that's what I'm
okay.
saying. This was distinct from that sound.
Okay, got it.
But it was one of those things, and then it was like, oh, I should go out and look at the Northern Lights. I'm like, I'm not going outside. Get it.
All right, I'm on Rumble, so if you're watching us on Rumble right now, if you've got a story, let me know. Okay, just chat it on there. Just ahead, Red State's Mike Miller going to talk about the president saying, I'm sending troops to the border. And people are like, well, it's about time. They're going to fix the problem, right? Okay, we'll talk about it. 8:04.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
I'm here with Dr. Howard Wall. Howard, we hear a lot of debate about inflation, but real quick, what's the definition of inflation?
Inflation is when the economy has too much money chasing too few goods.
That extra money sloshing around has to go somewhere, and it ends up as higher prices for just about everything.
So what's transitory inflation then?
Well, there are temporary things like pandemics and wars that restrict supply and raise the prices of goods like oil. But the root cause of inflation, like we've been seeing, is money. Fingers get pointed at corporate greed and price gouging, but those don't rise and fall with the economy. So, really, you shouldn't be fooled. Loose money got us into this mess, and only tighter money will get us out of it.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Hi, Sean Long for STL Fenceworks. STL Fenceworks is proud and excited to install American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking. For instance, STL Fenceworks has teamed up with Jareth Manufacturing. Jareth invented the aluminum fence industry over 50 years ago. The Jareth product is wholly sourced and manufactured in the U.S., and STL Fenceworks is the third largest Jareth customer in the world. STL Fenceworks is vinyl fencing also, and not just white. We partner with National Vinyl Products to provide you with tan, clay, gray, and variegated wood grain vinyl fence products too, all made in the U.S. Not to be forgotten, STL Fenceworks is maintenance-free decking. STL Fenceworks is the #1 distributor of Wolf Cellular PVC in the Midwest, proudly manufactured in the U.S. and voted #1 maintenance-free decking product in the United States. Let STL Fenceworks make your outdoor space magical. Visit stlfenceworks.com today and learn how we can make your backyard dreams into a reality. At STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. There's been more than just one arrest in connection with the fatal shootings of 5 people in Cleveland, Texas last Friday night. San Jacinto County Chief Deputy Sheriff Tim Key not saying exactly how many people have been detained.
I'm not going to go into that right now because others are hinging on what's going on right now. So it's in progress.
Are more arrests expected?
Possibly.
The alleged gunman identified as 38-year-old illegal immigrant Francisco Oropesa. He was found hiding in a closet of a home not far from the scene of the crime. Allegedly opened fire on neighbors after being asked not to fire his gun so late at night when a woman's baby was trying to sleep. Texas Governor Greg Abbott denouncing President Biden's plan to deploy 1,500 active-duty troops to the southern border ahead of an even greater surge of illegal immigrants expected when Title 42 restrictions lapse in the coming days. Abbott says the troops' mission will involve paperwork and is only a 3-month deployment. Looks like the cost of borrowing is about to go up again. The Fed poised to announce another interest rate hike.
The big question is whether the Fed will also signal that it's now likely to pause its rate increases. Turmoil in the banking sector and political battles over the government's borrowing limit could weaken the economy if banks restrict lending and financial markets tumble on fears of a default on the nation's debt. On the other hand, inflation continues at a level far above the central bank's 2% target rate, even though it is slowing. That raises concerns that the Fed would have to tighten credit to slow price increases, and additional rate hikes would heighten the risk of a recession. Donna Water, Washington.
And stock futures modestly higher ahead of this morning's Wall Street opening bell. The Dow futures up 20 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 20 points as well. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Today on Hey Culligan, how smart is your water? Here's Tracy.
Hey Culligan, I think my water might be dumb.
Good news, Tracy. Your water's not dumb. It's just not talking to you.
You can make my water talk.
No, but the new Culligan Smart Drinking Water System can talk to your phone to tell you when your water filters need changing and help you meet drinking water goals.
Now that's some brilliant H2O.
You said it, Tracy, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Another cool morning under clear skies. Beautiful day on tap today. Finally, we'll reduce the wind speeds out of the northwest. Maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per hour this afternoon. It's going to feel a lot better. The high about 68 degrees. Lows tonight in the 40s again, and highs tomorrow in the mid-70s with rain and storms showing up tomorrow night into Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
Hey, Columbo here, reminding you that cybersecurity has never been more important, so you need to ask yourself, is your business prepared for a possible ransomware attack? If you have any doubt about that, you need to call the team at ThrottleNet today. ThrottleNet provides world-class managed IT services and IT support to many local organizations, including my family's own small business. They're St. Louis's highest rated and most reviewed outsourced IT company, and there's many different ways ThrottleNet can help with your business's operation and digital protection. Learn more now at throttlenet.com.
Let the people's voice be heard. Hello, Mary Teresa McLean here, chair of the Republican Party, City of St. Louis Central Committee, with an urgent message for you. Yes, you. Contact your state rep and state senator and tell them to pass SB 186, HB 301, and 702. Get all info needed at stlouisrepublicans.com. The future of our city, county, and state is at stake. Let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com. Mike Ferguson.
It's a miracle we're not in prison.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
Are you kidding me?
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
As much as I think a lot of the leftist media does not want to talk about it, illegal immigration, kind of a thing still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we bring it up regularly to remind people that it's kind of a thing still.
Right.
And it's affecting us.
Yes, it is.
When Eric Schmidt was still the Attorney General here, I think he was one of the first to kind of coin the phrase, every state's a border state.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was the first to say it, but he was one of the first ones saying it on national media.
Every town's a border town, every state's a border state.
Right, because he was advocating for holding on to the Remain in Mexico policy.
Exactly. And so now he's in the U.S. Senate, and now he's saying that there as well. And now the Biden administration has announced a move regarding illegal immigration. It's just 8:06 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. That is not Gabe Pfeiffer here. That is RedState.com's Susie Moore in for Gabe today. Stel Ponticus is here as well. So you see the headlines. The Biden administration has seen the light. They are sending military personnel. They are sending troops to the border. This is going to finally shore up and secure the border, right?
Maybe not so much.
Oh, maybe the Biden administration's version of sending troops to the border is a little bit different than ours.
Just a bit.
Mike Miller is one of the RedState.com writers who is covering this, and he just posted a really good article on this. That was yesterday afternoon, I think it was. So we've got a fresh article here. Mike joins us right now. So when the headlines scream, Mike, Biden administration sending troops to the border, that means what for our battle against illegal immigration?
Solved. Susie, I'm surprised at you. I slept like a baby last night. I mean, come on. Biden's going to fix this thing that he created on purpose. It's like Christmas morning.
Oh, my goodness. So, Mike, do we really,
You know what?
are we having data clerks and data entry specialists in fatigues, basically?
We're having the administration scared crazy and thinking we have to at least look like we're going to do something because they've lied about it from day one. Serial liar Mayorkas as the hood ornament, and we've been told for what, almost 2 years. I mean, over 2 years that it's secure. We have operational control. You know, that clown machine in the White House press office makes stuff up every day about it, and yet they know that we know that they're lying. So I think election is starting to be a larger and larger issue, and I think they're just maybe trying to look like they're doing something. I don't have a really good explanation other than we've been here before with this, haven't we? Except when Trump did it. I remember that I think I referenced it in the article. I think he sent maybe a total of, there were maybe 21 troops down there in the vicinity. I don't know if they were active or not, and he ended up sending about 5,200. But, the Democrats lost their minds, right? He's militarizing the border, and, all this country as we know it is going to go to hell in a handbasket. Yet here we go. You can't make it up. I mean, you cannot make it up.
Mike, I don't know if I'm the only one who had this thought, but is it the end of Animal House where like everything's going crazy and the kind of straight and narrow guy is like standing in front of the parade trying to kind of like say it's fine, everything's gonna be fine, trying to direct traffic until he's overwhelmed. I'm picturing whoever is there at the border come next week, just kind of in that same mode where they're trying to say, no, it's fine, and everybody's just streaming past them. Do you get the sense that the Biden administration is going to maybe increase the number of people they're sending to go do data entry?
I love that. That's the second time you guys brought up data entry. Yeah, maybe so. I mean, I'm probably the only person in the country, at least, if not the planet, that did not see Animal House, believe it or not. But, as you were talking, Susie, it's almost like Baghdad Bob.
Yes.
Baghdad Bob. Mm-hmm. I mean, all hell's breaking loose in the back. No, everything's cool. I mean, I was talking to, not to drop names, but I was talking to Michael, the great political cartoonist Michael Ramirez yesterday about an unrelated issue. And he said, Mike, I feel like I have the best gag writers in the business working for me. And it's the politicians.
Uh-huh.
You cannot make you can't make it up. So so here's what they said, right? This is the Defense Department yesterday. Quote, for 90 days, these 1,500 military personnel will fill, this is my favorite part, critical capability gaps, such as data entry, warehouse support, and so forth. The military personnel will not directly participate in law enforcement, but they will be armed, for self-defense. So last time I checked, I'm not real smart, but data entry people do not need to carry weapons for self-protection. So, I mean, again, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The article at redstate.com is called Admission by Action. Biden reportedly approves sending troops to border as Title 42 is set to expire. Mike, let me follow up when you just mentioned the quote about they will not be engaging in law enforcement. Karina Jean-Pierre made that statement. Brigadier General Pat Ryder made that statement. And is it a matter of law enforcement, or is this separate from national security? Because when I think of law enforcement, I'm thinking domestic, but national security is international. So do we have some gaslighting and redefining of the issue by the White House? I know, God forbid, that we suggest that the White House is gaslighting us on illegal immigration.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
I know, it's just amazing. But is this part of the game that's just being played with the words on this? Because law enforcement means the illegal immigrant was speeding and going 70 in a 55. National security is a whole nother level.
Of course they're gaslighting. As you said, that's what they've done from the beginning. That's what Democrats do anyway. I get a kick out of sometimes headlines, or you'll hear a commentator on, one of the media outlets say they think you're stupid. No, they don't think we're stupid. They know we're not stupid, which is why the lies they tell are as preposterous as they are, because who they're lying to are rank-and-file Democrat voters who are stupid, and by stupid I don't mean intellectually, I mean they're willfully ignorant or uninformed of the facts. So they could not nuance this with us, with our side, if they thought we were stupid, right? They have to go so far to the extreme that they give their base two extremes, in effect, is the way they look at it. But the last thing they think is that we're stupid. They know their voters are.
Mike, do you have you heard any news from the border czar, Kamala Harris, as to whether she's going to be in any way assisting with this process down at the border?
I would feel a lot better if she would.
Right now, she's on the scene right now. No, isn't she in a new role now? She's becoming the face of, what is it, the LGBTQ thing, or
she did have a new role bestowed upon her.
Yeah.
I've forgotten already what it was. We haven't gotten a good word salad in a couple days.
she'll knock that one out of the park too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's again, like Amira said, gag writers. You just can't do it, and the hypocrisy is also what gets to me. You know, so you have what's his name? Menendez. Bob Menendez comes out, calls it unacceptable. Democrat, right? Top Senate Democrat says, "quote He said, this is just hilarious. Oh, there's already a humanitarian crisis in the Western Hemisphere, and deploying military personnel. Oh, this is awesome. Only signals that migrants are a threat that require our nation's troops to contain." Well, who's doing it now? You know, the Border Patrol is out of their minds with the administration. Nothing's being done. We're being lied to. They're being lied to. Of course, there's migrants, illegal aliens, thank you, are a threat to this nation. I mean, you know, El Paso was unavailable for comment. You know, come on. This is just, it is gaslighting to the extreme, but that's what these people do.
Mike, this is Stal Ponticus. The administration has done, in my estimation, everything it can to avoid any of the visuals that we can remember from the chaos under the bridges at Del Rio when the regime took over. We kind of remember those days vaguely. And they put out the welcome mat at the border. So now here we are with May 12th coming up, literally thousands of Haitians and Venezuelans waiting to get in. Are you as concerned as we are about what's going to happen?
Of course I am, but who didn't see it coming? I mean, you know, Biden during the 2020 Democrat primary, I mean, he was thrown out the welcome mat then. He might as well have placed welcoming mariachi bands and piñatas for the kids along the borders. And when you have little kids photographed wearing Biden logo T-shirts, "Please let us in," that came as a shock to nobody. And you know what the heck of it is, guys? If hypothetically, and this would not be the results, but if the major polling organizations went to the border and found out that the illegals coming over, let's pretend they at some point become legal and get voting rights, if they determine that 75%, 80% of those people are going to vote Republican, again, hypothetical to make the point, you'd have every Democrat in the country locked arm in arm from the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico doing the damnedest to try to keep them out of this country. We're not stupid, and they know it.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that, Mike. Mm-hmm. So also, I think I saw something where Eric Adams is continuing to squawk about the migrants that are being shipped to his sanctuary city. Yeah. And I think it's fascinating to see the reaction of the mayors that have been touting these sort of sanctuary city policies, reacting to actually having to deal with the fallout from that.
Yeah, Beetlejuice, Lori Lightfoot.
Now, Mike.
Did the same thing. I'm sorry, you won't let me do it on the.
I know, I would take that out.
She always had this. I write Beetlejuice and then I do the strike through and then she takes it out. But anyway, no, I mean, she called it. What'd she call it? Inhumane and dangerous earlier in the week, this past week, because 800. You know, how many people live on the South Side, and what's inhumane and dangerous of there that's going on? You know, there's 2.7 million people in Chicago proper. Eric Adams, same thing. It's the hypocrisy is profound, and again, they're not playing to smart people; they're playing to their base. It's all about politics. Anything the Democrats support or oppose can be connected to the ballot box in no more than 2 dots.
Mike, I've been in policy and politics a long time. I'm kind of a political wonk translator. So embarrassing and dangerous, if you run it through the translator, means embarrassing to me.
Exactly. That's right. Well, she already flamed out. She wants to go out even stupider. But, I don't know. I mean, it's a target-rich environment, as you guys know. We all know. I mean, when you get up in the morning to write, or maybe you guys put your show together, I mean, you almost have to triage, right? I mean, you only got so much time, and there's so much stuff. I got to pick the stupidest stuff to write about, and it's great. It's great. Rush Limbaugh blew his audience up because of the Clinton administration. You know, it's kind of the same thing, only worse.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The article is called Admission by Action. Biden reportedly approves sending troops to border as Title 42 is set to expire, and you will find that at redstate.com, written by our guest, Mike Miller. Hey, Mike, good to talk to you again. Thanks so much for the time this morning.
It was great. Anytime, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, the number here is 314-912-1019. Let's get updated on a little bit of news happening around the St. Louis area, including one of our illustrious lawmakers finding herself under arrest earlier this week.
Oh, my.
Yep, that happened. I'll tell you who, I'll tell you why, and then also why some construction projects here in St. Louis might get the pause button hit on them. Yeah, I'll give you a spoiler because of a strike. That's just ahead right here on 1019 941 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
Bongino.
Remember Leslie? Donald Trump tells you the Hunter Biden laptop's real. He got spied on. Leslie Stahl's response is, Sir! Sir! She decided it'd be a good idea to take on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Did not end well. Leslie Stahl's like, Sir! I mean, ma'am!
Weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
When they say assault weapons, you don't know what they're thinking because they don't know what they're talking about anyway.
Yeah, Vic, that's the first question I always ask people when they even bring up assault weapons. Okay, what are those? Because they can never answer that question. It can be a knife. It can be a car. I mean, an assault weapon can be a pistol. An assault weapon can be a fist.
And we all know that AR stands for assault rifle, right?
Right.
Vic Porcelli. Live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, let's get caught up on some news here, including a local lawmaker who found herself on the wrong end of the law.
Whoops.
Yeah. All right, Kimberly Gardner's day in court is coming at some point. Judge says she will go through a trial in order to keep her job or go through a trial in order to lose her job.
Yes.
Get you the update on that. Let's see here. What else we got going on? All right. So let me just start right there. By the way, it's 8:22. I'm Mike. Susie Moore in for Gabe Pfeiffer today, and of course, Stell's here as well. The lawsuit to remove Kimberly Gardner from office will move forward. So let's do a quick recap here, Susie. The judge in the case rejected Gardner's request to dismiss that action brought by the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, at least overall.
Yeah.
3 of the 10 arguments that the Attorney General made did get kicked. Those were dismissed. But the other 7 of the 10, the judge says, okay, there's at least enough to move forward with a civil trial on this. So the judge, as I understand it, didn't say these are true and she should be thrown out of office. He just said there's enough here.
Right. Correct. You made enough of a showing that it warrants being heard.
So how big of a deal is this? Just procedural, or is this a big deal to Kimberly Gardner? I mean, is this a major decision in the process?
It's a big deal because a lot of lawsuits not a lot. A big part of a lawsuit is, can you get it knocked out on the pleadings? Can you say there's, no matter how you frame this, there's not enough of a cause of action here to warrant going forward. That's how a lot of those defamation suits are knocked out, or a case against, a governmental entity. They're knocked out at the motion to dismiss stage. And that's what you want if you're the person that's being sued.
Yeah.
You want to knock it out at the motion to dismiss stage. So this is big. It means this is going forward. It means the discovery is going to go on. And that means that the subpoenas are going to have to be answered to. And that means probably some judges are going to be called to testify and give depositions. This is big.
So in layman's terms, is it a matter of where there's smoke, there might be fire, but we at least see the smoke?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like my legal analysis.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
It's not saying that you're going to get burned by the fire.
Correct.
But it's saying that at least
it
there's
warrants
enough
investigation.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Okay. All right. Well, we just talked to Mike Miller from redstate.com about this, which, by the way, that podcast is going to be available probably within the next 3.5 hours or so. So if you're not subscribed to our podcast, man, you're missing out. And you definitely want to hear the conversation we had with Peter Earle a little bit earlier with the update on what's going on with the economy and with the debt ceiling discussion. The closer we get to June 1st, this could really, really be a massive big deal. Basically, put your seatbelt on and hold on to your 401k is what Peter was saying.
Yeah.
So check out that podcast a little bit later on, wherever you get your podcast. Okay, Biden administration, and this is what we talked to Mike about here. Let's get the other side here from the Biden administration. They're sending 1,500 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border, kind of. Townhall.com's Greg Cluxton has that story.
When COVID-19 restrictions are lifted next week, thousands more migrants are expected to try and cross the southern border. Anticipating that surge, 1,500 troops are being deployed. The White House says the military personnel will not do enforcement work.
This will free up Border Patrol agents to perform their critical law enforcement duties.
President Biden's actions follow similar moves by then-President Trump, policies that Mr. Biden frequently criticized. The White House tried to downplay the troops' decision by describing it as a common practice. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Can I just point out, Susie, that the White House saying, well, we're just sending them down there not to enforce the border, but to free up our Border Patrol agents to go do that themselves. And if they recognize that is necessary, why haven't they done that over the last 2 years?
Yeah, that's a fair question. That tells me that they are nervous about what's going to come next week.
And when they're looking at warehouse support, when they're looking at data entry clerks, which is what we're talking about here, you can hire a temp agency to do that.
It sounds like that's what they've done.
Yeah, except they're temp agencies with our fine men and women of the military personnel. Of course, if they get the order saying you're going to the border, you're stationed down there for the next 90 days, and are they thinking, ooh, I could be in an office with air conditioning?
Well, the good thing to know is that they're going to be up to date on their DEI.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's a good point. You know what? I just take back everything I just said all morning long about this. And we got to call Mike Miller back. He's wrong.
Sorry, Mike. You missed the boat.
There you go.
It's all DEI.
The illegal immigrants did miss the boat, but
they don't need a boat, actually.
No, that's right. Okay, a little closer to home here. State Representative Lakeisha Bosley found herself briefly in police custody this week.
Ooh.
She was arrested on an outstanding warrant. She was arrested in Jefferson City for not appearing in court to take care of a speeding ticket from well over a year ago that she got in Perry County. Bosley does represent part of St. Louis City, and she has posted bond, and she put out a statement, Susie, that said, I thought I'd gotten caught up on my warrants, plural. I should hold myself to a higher standard. I'm getting this all taken care of. And I'm thinking, you're a state lawmaker.
There are three. There are three warrants for her.
For the same thing?
Not for the same county, but for the same thing, speeding. Basically,
And
she's
just-
got a lead foot and she gets tickets, and then she apparently just doesn't address it, which is so silly because she's got the ability to do that. She's got family members that are lawyers. She's got a little bit of pull. Getting a speeding ticket addressed is not that complicated. You just have to go through the process.
And it's not like Bosley is an unknown name in St. Louis.
That's for sure.
So this is one of those things that just speaks to her, basically, I guess she was in denial and just not dealing with and keeping her house in order. I mean, it's silly.
Yeah, silly is a great word for this. I've met Lakeisha a couple of times, so I don't know her well. I don't really know her at all. I've just been on a couple media shows with her before this station started up. So I have a theory that I'll tell you off the air. But
Okay.
I did the one cardinal sin, but it doesn't surprise me that this is who did the silly thing or the airheaded thing. I'll
Well,
just put it
she
that way.
also did not think to smile pretty for her mugshot.
Mm-mm.
It's not a flatter, and she's an attractive lady, but it's not an attractive picture.
If you look at the TV websites, that is so true. She looks downtrodden and her eyes are droopy and she's like, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. Listen, if you're a politician and you're going to get a mugshot and there's a chance the news could do it, you look square in the camera, you smile, you own that, and then use it as your profile picture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, man, Tom DeLay figured that out 20-some years ago. You don't give him anywhere to go with that. But, yeah, she looks like she's about to get hauled off to the Hooskow.
Right. And I guess, I guess it's good that she looks a little bit ashamed, but at the same time, no, she should have just owned it.
Yeah.
And it's over silly stuff. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be speeding laws. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be held accountable, but I'm saying there's an easy way to address that.
Oh, the
It's
one in
not a
Perry
big deal.
County, she was like 19 miles an hour over the limit.
Right. But
Now-
you still can address that without having to end up in jail.
Have you ever driven on I-70 or on Highway 50? Any of those in the state heading into Jefferson City on a Monday during the legislative
54,
session?
63, yeah.
54, 63. Any of those. Have you ever done that still?
Not when legislators were on there.
If it's a Monday,
Yeah.
you will get past, because you can tell who the lawmakers are by their license plates. It'll
Mhm.
say S and then the district number, or R, then the district number. You will get past like you are standing still on the interstate on a Monday when they're heading into to the Capitol.
Speaking of Jeff City, a quick shout out to our friend Linda Ragsdale. I think she was on the road to Jeff City today. 'Cause she's asking me what station to which station to listen to. I mean, what the number was. Of the
Hey,
station.
Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Listening to us probably on
94.1.
94.1. Yes.
That's what I told
I have
her.
a funny-
Frequency, that's what we're
That's
trying
what
to think
I
of.
couldn't think
Yeah.
of the word
Yeah.
frequency.
I have a funny Linda story, and I have not run into Linda in person in a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back and I'll finish this last newscast, I swear. Linda's a big baseball fan.
Mhm.
Because she's a good St. Louisan. And that's the way that
Absolutely.
it is. And I always put out on Facebook, hey, I'm playing baseball here today on my personal page. And 2 or 3 years ago, I put that out, and I was in O'Fallon.
Mhm.
And Linda basically is like, oh, I got nothing to do. I'm going to go out and watch a baseball game.
Perfect.
So she actually showed up at my baseball game at Ozzy's there off of T.R. Hughes, and I hit a home run.
Oh, perfect. She's your good luck charm.
In old man baseball, I hit a home run.
Nice.
I mean, like over the fence and everything. So
That's impressive.
An official home run.
it was an actual home run. Yes.
That's
Not a
nice.
little league home run, but
No,
a real grown-up
No,
home run.
it was like over the fence, and it was my first St. Louis home run. I mean, when I lived in another city, when I was younger, I used to do that sometimes, but actually happened here. So that's my funny Linda Ragsdale
Love it.
story. And of course, she's really active in O'Fallon, and
Yeah, she's
and,
a new city council
yeah,
member there.
so it's good to have people who get it and have the right view of government elected to those
Yep.
positions. So anyway, that's a long way of saying, hey, Linda,
Hi, Linda.
how are you doing?
Hopefully she's
Okay.
still listening.
Speaking of baseball, so if nothing else, the Cardinals are consistent in one area of their game this year.
Yeah.
They have lost the first game of the series again.
Oh.
Okay, 10 series that they've had. The Angels, this is the 10th series of the season. They've lost all 10 opening games of the series.
Oh, Cardinals.
That's not the type of 10 for 10
No.
you want to have.
That's not the consistency I want.
Mm-mm.
They got beat by the Angels. 5-1 last night. Okay, so the second game of the series is tonight at 6:45. Shohei Ohtani is on the mound for the Angels.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now Miles Michaelis is on for the Cardinals, best pitcher.
Right.
Shohei Ohtani is undefeated this year.
Let's change that.
Yes.
Let's
as much
be the
of
ones to knock him off that perch.
Much as I love Shohei Ohtani, and I truly think he's the best baseball player on earth right now, I do want to see the Cardinals win that.
That'd be nice.
Yes. So that game is 6:45. All right, 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Another cool morning under clear skies. Beautiful day on tap today. Finally, we'll reduce the wind speeds out of the northwest. Maybe 10, maybe 12 miles per hour this afternoon. That's going to feel a lot better. The high about 68 degrees. Lows tonight in the 40s again, and highs tomorrow in the mid-70s with rain and storms showing up tomorrow night into Friday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
We've been here 30 years. 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
Home is where the heart is, but it's also where the money is too. If you want to make the most of your home, whether you're buying, selling, or staying put, tune into HomeWise, the financial talk show that gives you the real deal on home ownership. HomeWise tells you the secrets that banks, realtors, and contractors don't want you to know, and shows you how to save thousands of dollars on your mortgage, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. HomeWise, how to get the most out of every dollar you put into your home. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Columbo with a big announcement from my friends at Zero Res. There's only one cleaning company we trust with our home, and that's the team at Zero Res. And right now, they have an amazing offer. Take advantage of their spring flash sale and get a free hallway with any of their carpet cleaning packages with 3 rooms, Zero Resified, starting at just $129. That's this week only. Just mention the Columbo special when you call and book at 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Catch me tonight at 7 o'clock. But right now, back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, I'm trying to come up with the headlines here, looking at the news stories. A little bit ago, we were told that there was some kind of explosion at the Kremlin.
Yeah, there was a drone strike overnight, an explosive drone strike at the Kremlin.
Okay, so we don't know much about that. I'm having trouble finding news about it.
Yeah, the story is being written right now. It was called by one of my editors, and
Yeah.
he's kind of the military guy, so he would know.
So here's the thing, though. If there was a drone strike explosion at the Kremlin, the only thing I can probably guarantee is that we should be skeptical of whatever information we get, regardless of who it comes from.
Yes.
So whatever your folks are collecting, they know, obviously they know to have a very, very
I was going to say, he'll put it through the skeptical filter.
Yes.
I guarantee.
Because I wouldn't put it past, Putin to go, look at what these horrible, I don't know, U.S. drones, Ukrainian drones,
Right.
whoever did. Matter of fact, they knew that we had 50 women and children in the Kremlin right there.
We're still fighting over who blew up Nord Stream. So, yes, 100%.
Yes.
I don't have a lot of information on it. I just know that there's information out there that indicates there was some sort of drone hit on the part of the Kremlin last night.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And the conspiracy theories will go wild.
Of course.
And I have to admit, my mind goes to the photos that I've seen of the Kremlin over the years. Those beautiful buildings.
Oh,
Yeah.
very
those-
yeah, absolutely.
With those domes, boy. Okay.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That there will be a story on Red State sometime probably late this morning.
Okay.
That should give you some additional information.
That's what's weird is when something happens and we have trouble accessing information, which tells you how much things have actually changed. Because if we knew there was a big story, we knew, okay, we better watch the news at 5 o'clock tonight. Walter Cronkite's going to have that. Roger Mudd's going to have that. Tom Brokaw's going to have that. Bernie Shaw's going to have that. Now it's like, come on, it's been 87 seconds. Tell me what's going on.
Well, and then the other thing, too, is that sometimes it is alternative sites that actually break the news first.
Yeah.
Now, you have to always make sure you're checking your sources.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that we hammer home all the time is, like, don't just go with one source. Don't just go, some tweet, somebody tweeted it. But
okay, so I'm glad you brought that. All right, I'm throwing my plan out for this segment.
Reuters.
It's a tyranny of the urgent,
Reuters.
by the way.
Reuters headline right now. Russia says
Okay.
Ukraine tried to kill Putin with drone attack on Kremlin.
Well, did they succeed?
No.
Okay.
Well, as far as we know.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, now that's interesting because I've had actually people message me, hey, look at this tweet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, look at this story. And so many times now that I will see that and I'm like, I can't verify that based on that.
Yep.
For instance, there was somebody who said, did you hear? And they told a story about the families who are the victims of the Nashville attack on the Christian school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a story that, if it's true, would be very flattering to the families.
Sure.
I can't verify it.
I think I saw that same piece of information.
And a matter of fact, the person who tweeted it out said, well, I can't say where I got this, but this is what happened. Because somebody who's close to it told me.
Sources say.
Yeah, sources say. And what happens now is that somebody runs with it and it gets up on a social media platform, and then somebody else reports that they saw that it was reported, and then you say, well, published reports say, and then before you know it, something that could be absolutely nothing turns into headline news, and then we wonder why we have a problem with people not knowing what's actually happening.
That's actually what the intelligence agencies and the news media do with a lot, like the Russia hoax, the Russia collusion hoax.
Right.
That's basically somebody, that wants that story out there, leaks it, and I've got my sneer quotes up, leaks it to an outlet, the outlet publishes it, then that person turns around and says, oh, well, look, the Washington Post is reporting, so there's something to this. It's a very circular thing.
You want an example of that I remember just from about a week or so ago?
Sure.
Story came out about BlackRock investing in both Fox and Dominion. The problem was, and nobody investigated it, it wasn't the Dominion voting system company, it was Dominion Mining.
Oh, yeah.
On the East Coast. But everybody assumed it was Dominion, the voting company.
Now, some of this is a degradation in the quality of journalism.
Yes.
I mean, there's not even a pretense of doing actual journalism for the most part. But sometimes it's accidental because we just don't have the same standards. Let me give you another example. Years ago, I'm working in Columbia. Okay, so part of what I covered and what I talked about was Mizzou. And there was a basketball coach vacancy. I think it was Frank Haith got shown the door because, of all his shenanigans. And we had a very, very young sports reporter there. And I'm not going to say who it is because he's a national figure, with a lot of experience under his belt now, but I'm not going to say who it is. And he somehow mentioned to somebody that he thought that Mizzou had hired Matt Painter, who's the basketball coach at Purdue University, or he was at the time. I don't know if he still is or not. And then so what happened is he mentioned this, like, I don't know, I kind of heard this could happen. And some alumni from Mizzou, a big donor, bankroller type thing, was all excited because the sports guy mentioned it. And the sports guy originally didn't say that this was fact.
Right, just
He's
say
like,
you'd heard it.
Or maybe it was even, boy, wouldn't it be great if they could go get him? But it was something innocuous and he wasn't. And this alumni then sends a letter to the athletic director, congratulations on hiring Matt Painter. Well, somehow that gets leaked back to the guy who was in the conversation. He goes, oh my goodness, they've hired Matt Painter. And so he runs to me. He's like, Mike, we have to break into the news. You've got it, because I was a news anchor at that time. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, dude, where is your confirmation? No, I got it confirmed. Of course, he's fresh out of college.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And I'm like, where do you, I mean, he's like, no, we got to break in. This is huge. This is huge. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I'm not breaking in.
Right.
I said, but okay. I mean, because he was like all over me. You got to put this in your news because
Right.
Mizzou sports is massive in that market.
Absolutely.
And this is, gosh, 12, 15 years ago, something like that.
Sure.
And so I go on the air and I say, okay, our company's sports department is reporting that. You know, I did everything I could do with the weasel words to say somebody else is telling me this. Well, at this point now, the cycle is going national. ESPN is reporting on it. Fox Sports is reporting. Everybody is reporting on this. And Matt Painter's sitting there at Purdue going, what the hell are you talking about? Mizzou is going, what are you talking about?
Right.
And it was this vicious cycle of people not having the instinct to go, wait a minute, let's go to the original source and check.
Yeah.
And this, we're at a point now where this can result in riots if it's the wrong news story that doesn't get checked or is intentionally misinformed.
We are constantly banging that drum. Don't just go on when you need an independent source. You need to verify it. Don't just listen to this one.
Right.
You know, definitely back it up. You've got to have the links there. You've got to be able to back it up.
You want me to give you a similar story?
Sure,
NFL
sure.
story?
Yeah.
Chicago Bears. Back in the late 80s when Dave McGinnis, who was with the Rams and the football Cardinals, etc., he was on the Bears staff. Someone at a major radio station in Chicago said that Dave McGinnis had been hired as head coach. I told my father-in-law, who was very close friends with Dave from his days in the 70s, Dave's days in the 70s at Mizzou. So Tom calls Dave and says, congratulations. And Dave McGinnis says, for what? Well, you just got hired as the Bears head coach. No, I haven't spoken to anybody up there. That I haven't signed anything. Well, they're saying on the radio in Chicago that you got hired as the head coach. You know, it's coming out of River Forest. The McCaskey family says, no, I haven't spoken to anyone. Wow. And so he drove up, and it was not a pleasant meeting at the Bears headquarters there in River Forest. And he declined the job. He said, even if you offered it to me right now, I'm not taking it.
But we want to be first, and we got to know now.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And you know what, when big news hits, we want to get it out there quickly, obviously, but at the same time, we want to make sure we got it right.
I would rather be right than be first.
Yeah. We had to really watch it with the Tucker story.
Yes.
Because there's been so much speculation about what happened and didn't happen. And we had some ability to have some behind the scenes information, but we had to be, still, we're having to be very careful about making sure that we're not just going with somebody else's rumor.
Right. Because one, you've got possible,
there's different agendas.
There's a lot of agendas. You've got to worry about disparaging somebody unfairly, even our opponents.
Yep.
Which I would argue you have to be more careful because if we do battle with them ideologically, I want to make sure I'm always on solid ground.
Yep.
And for instance, the person who sent me this story about the Nashville situation with the families, and I'm like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it. If it's true, I got nothing to go on because it would actually be a very fascinating conversation on a radio talk show like this.
It would be.
Yeah. So it sounds like you heard the same thing that I did. And I can't verify it.
Yeah. And I haven't gone looking to verify it, but I didn't run with it.
I did. I can't find it. And there's nothing that I can. I mean, maybe it's true, but I have absolutely no reason to suspect one way or the other.
Right.
So I'm not going to go on. It's just hypothetical at this point. All right. 314-912-1019. Okay. That was a complete
detour.
That's the word I was looking for. I'm doing an arm motion like that. Like that helps people on the radio.
I speak Mike's sign language.
Yes, that's right. That was a complete detour, but yeah, that's the thing where we've got to be extra careful.
Yeah.
Especially in an international situation like an explosion at a national capital, because bad information can end up resulting in people dying.
All we know right now is there was apparently a drone strike at the Kremlin.
Yes. Who did it? Don't know. No idea. All right. You know anybody's getting married anytime soon?
No.
Apparently there's a new list of unwritten rules for weddings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those are probably interesting.
Some of them actually kind of make sense.
Okay.
I try to avoid going to weddings.
Okay. Just
because.
All right.
But if these rules were in place that people actually adhered to, maybe.
All right.
I'll tell you what they are right around 8:51 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Larry Connors, USA.
Well, source matters a lot. That would mean the director of National Intel is either lying himself or he's not that intelligent.
Larry Connors.
Or both.
Weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hit high and deep to right. He did it. Carlson hits it off the scoreboard.
The Cardinals host the Tigers the weekend of May 5th through the 7th. And on Friday night, 25,000 fans aged 16 and older will take home a Cardinals belt bag courtesy of Mercy. This gray bag features a Navy strap, silver metal logo on the front, and other upgraded components. Get your fanny to the ballpark. That's Friday, May the 5th. The Cardinals, the Tigers, and the belt bag.
This is Dylan Carlson. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com.
A swing and a miss. 9 pitches, 9 strikes for Helsley.
On Saturday, May 6th, the Cardinals host the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers will be the only felines in the stadium because that day is the 18th annual Pooches in the Ballpark Day. 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will receive the first Cardinals bobblehead featuring closer Ryan Helsley and his adorable pup Major, courtesy of Purina. That's Saturday, May 6th, the Cardinals, the Tigers, and the Helsley Major bobblehead.
This is Ryan Helsley. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com.
You know, when we talk about dental care, a lot of times the first thing you think about is, are my teeth white? Are there chips? Are there cavities? Do I need a crown? Yes, I need a cleaning. But have you thought about what your dental health means for the health of the rest of your body? If you're pregnant, there's a big impact of your dental health and your gum health and inflammation in and around the teeth and the gums that can impact preterm labor and really impact the successful outcome. There are some studies that suggest that poor dental health may be related to premature cardiovascular disease. These are the kind of issues that are addressed when you visit my friends at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. The whole family can benefit from a visit to Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles with Dr. Dan Cusimano, Dr. Megan Dwyer, Dr. Jay Omas. Or if you haven't seen anyone for a while, go out and get to know them. It's a fabulous team, all up and down the team, from the dentist to the hygienist to the front office. Great, great group. 978-0226. That's 636-978-0226. Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles, advanceddentistrynow.com.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
We need more gun control. And I don't need the government to save me.
101.9 and 94.1.
If we speak up, it doesn't matter. Nothing will ever change.
News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Going to any weddings coming up? You know anybody?
No.
I don't either.
No. Nothing
I think all my friends
on the calendar.
all my friends who have that possibility in their lives have done it in the last couple of years. I don't know of anybody else. Which, by the way, if you know somebody who's getting married, you can get them a great gift at Blessed Jewelers.
Oh, that's true. Very good point.
By the way,
what a great segue.
We are partnering with Blessed Jewelers for our Mother's Day. But if you happen to get picked to get a $500 gift certificate to Blessed Jewelers, it could go as a nice gift for a wedding too.
Sure.
Just saying, go to newstalkstl.com and look at our Mother's Day kind of slider picture up there, and you can just give us a few lines, 2-3 sentences maybe, why your mom is awesome or the mom in your life is awesome. So I don't want anybody to say like, wait a minute, I want to call out and give my wife a shout out for being such a great mom. That would be a great way to do it as well. But we're going to pick somebody to get a $500 Blessed Jewelers gift certificate. Their shop is in Creve Coeur. Actually, they're about to open up in De Pere as well. But for right now, they're only in Creve Coeur as they're working on opening up the store in De Pere, just off of Olive Boulevard. So blessedjewelers.com to learn more, but newstalkstl.com as well. It's really a lot of fun. We've got the gallery up now of so many of the entrants and people just talking about why they love their mom. All right, 8:52 right now. Got Susie Moore in from redstate.com in for Gabe Pfeiffer today, and Stel Ponticus here. So apparently it's wedding season.
Okay, yeah.
I actually did not get married in wedding season. I got married in January.
Right.
So it was very cold.
January 6th.
January 6th is we we made January 6th a historic marker before. So it was cool.
Yeah.
We made
You
it
made
cool
it cool
before
before.
it was like the thing.
You were cutting edge.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, because we're on our, what was that? It was a 2021, I guess, so 2 years ago. So we got married in 2018. So our third anniversary, we're sitting there.
You're way out in front of the QAnon shaman.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he walked Rachel down the aisle. So it's.
With or without the,
That's right.
the helmet.
But we're looking at all the news because we were getting ready to go. I think we were doing like a really nice anniversary lunch because we were going to do the dinner. We had something going on. And we're sitting there watching the news and looking at the social media and just looking at each other. We're like, of all days, it had to be today for all this crap to happen.
Princess Diana died on my birthday.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, man.
So, I'm there with you.
Yeah. And your wedding anniversary is when the last remnants of the federal COVID emergency is being lifted.
That's right. Yep.
Which is coming up here.
May 11th.
Yep.
How many years?
48.
Yay.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Seems like yesterday.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, maybe the day before yesterday.
So apparently it's wedding season. And who was it that kind of came up? Oh, shoot. Let me get my I just clicked the wrong thing. There it is. And who was it that did this? It was slate.com.
Okay.
And boy, if you want to get really good information, always go to slate.com. But they came up with some magazines to put together a list of the unwritten rules to make weddings less unbearable.
Okay.
So everybody, if you want me to go to your wedding, and I hope you don't, but if you do, here's how to make them less unbearable. Don't do an engagement party, they're saying.
Okay.
Okay. Well, don't do outdoor summer weddings.
Yeah.
Too risky for rain and heat?
I see. I would think the heat, as well. My buddy Matt and his wife Tammy, they got married at an outdoor thing, year and a half ago. And it was outdoors, but they made sure it was casual, and we were not supposed to wear suits at all. We were supposed to be comfortable. But here's an interesting one. They say your closest friends, not you, should control the guest list.
It seems to me that more often than not that ends up being a family issue too, because the parents get involved. If you're talking about a younger couple getting married, that's always one of the tensions is like, who do mom and dad get to invite versus the
right.
But I don't think I would outsource my invite list to friends or family.
That wouldn't be taking it off your shoulders and a main source of stress off your shoulders?
No, I would be more stressed wondering who they would invite and who they'd leave out, because people are going to assume it's you that did it.
And how it gets paid for. All of a sudden, the list is 400 people.
Right, yeah.
When you thought it was going to be 100.
Yeah.
Unless they're sending it out with an invoice.
Now, on a related one, they say it's entirely fine to deny anyone a +1 for any reason. Now, I think conceptually that is true, but how good of an idea is that?
I don't think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
No.
So are you saying slate.com may have some bad information?
I am.
Let's see here. Now, this one I do like. It says, never say black tie optional. Pick one.
Yeah,
and stick with it.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. Let's see here. What are some of these other rules here? Okay. No kids. If kids are needed for the ceremony, that's one thing, but a car should be waiting. Just don't have kids at a wedding.
I think it depends on the kind of wedding you're wanting to have.
Okay.
I think if you want a big family celebration, definitely the kids. I think if you want an upscale, elegant, fancy schmancy, maybe not.
Yeah. What about don't ask for gifts and say we don't want gifts? See, that to me goes back to a long tradition. I wouldn't ask for gifts, but I would definitely accept them.
Yeah.
I would think it'd be the choice of the couple. If the couple doesn't,
I think it does. I could certainly like on a second marriage or maybe like an older in life marriage, I could see saying, please no gifts, or if you want to donate to XYZ, that's fine.
I think Rachel and I did a thing because everybody kept asking us.
Right.
And so we're like, you know what? Here's what we're going to do for our honeymoon. If you want to kick in to help with that, fine.
Yeah.
But we made it very clear nothing is expected. How about this one? No one has to walk you down the aisle. I agree.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I had actually both my parents walk me down the aisle.
Did
To
you?
me, that was important that they both be part of that.
I'm going to admit that QAnon shaman did not walk Rachel down the aisle.
Now the truth comes out.
She walked by herself.
Hope no
down
one
there.
ran with that report.
Yes.
And he didn't take the pulpit with him.
Yes. No, he did not. He left it right there. Yeah, so those are some of the rules that they are saying. All right.
Okay.
Vic Porcelli, going to be with you here in about 6 minutes on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Susie, thanks so much for pinch hitting again.
Thing.
Thanks, Susie.
All right.
Coming up on 9 a.m. in Mid-America, welcome home.
Yes, Epics and Classics featuring John Anderson with the Band Geeks. May 9th, the Family Arena, Progressive Pioneers. Yes, Epics and Classics featuring John Anderson with the Band Geeks live. Research seat tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office at the Family Arena or through Ticketmaster. Don't miss Yes, Epics and Classics featuring John Anderson.